Let's see here. Let's see here. I haven't been live in a minute. Oh, gosh. Okay. Give me 1 second. I have to make a link, post it on Instagram. Well, it seems to be going. Okay. Live. YouTube live link. I hate having to do this pre-show, but we got to do what we got to do. Also, let me know if you could hear me, all one of you that's in here. A bunch of people just kind of slid in at one point. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to put in this little link over here. All right, we're good. We can get people in here. Okay, so let's do this. I haven't been live in a little bit. Sorry, guys. Just life happened. A little bit of a rebrand going on, so I'm just kind of figuring stuff out, and also just a lot of stuff is going on. We have Sony Con a couple of weeks, and just planning some other shoots. So let's go. Made from Java. What up? People piling in. I guess we can wait till a couple more people come in. One of us. I love the X100VI. There for a few accessories, in my opinion. I still have my GFX 50R. Like, this is still not going anywhere. This is probably going to stay inside of the house forever and ever. Amen. But there was two things. Like, one part of like this channel, this brand, is talking about camera gear and using them and like trying to flesh things out and explore and stuff like that, and like using that as a vehicle to like live your life and stuff. The other part of things is sometimes walking around with my 50R, although I don't mind and I'm pretty tolerant to the weight and the size of it. It might be things that'll get me in trouble if I'm in certain places. So I want to be a little bit more discreet. So I ended up picking it up. In fact, I put it on my table. 1 sec. All right. So this right here is my Fuji X100 Mark VI. So I don't think I'll focus on it here. I haven't got all the accessories yet, but I'm using that kind of square hood that you can get on Amazon. I got the Tilta grip because, you know, I gotta kind of hold it like this. I'm using my Peak Design, or I think it's my PJY Tech strap. And then there's a couple other accessories that I have coming up a little bit. I'll go with grazing the beard burrow. I've had gray hair since like I was 13. So the fact that they're in my beard is a little unsurprising, but crazy this gets posted while I'm looking at the 50S2. I still have my GFX camera. I'm just gonna have both of them. They look like a dad and a son. Like, one is significantly bigger than the other, but literally one is just so like when I need to be discreet, then I'll just be discreet. Because sometimes you draw a bit too much attention to yourself when you're walking around in like a giant camera. I live in full FX. Oh, I think you're talking about the FX line. That's not a bad deal. I did that for 3 years. Surprised you're able to get one. Hey, here's the thing. If you're in Canada right now, particularly Toronto, the XE5, the XE5 kit, and the Fuji X100VI is available at like pretty much every retailer. So like they're readily in stock. You could just pick one up that day. Like, I got mine. I made a decision to get the X100VI when I posted a thread and picked it up the next day. Moved to the XE5 and been loving that so much. I like the idea of the XE5. I almost got the XE5. There's like one or two things that I just like I didn't care about it, and that like the X100VI made more sense. One of those is that like I don't really want to build a XF lens collection. Like, I don't want to have interchangeable lenses because I don't think I'll ever buy more lenses for my Fuji camera. If I am going to do that, I'm going to just buy GFX lenses for the GFX 50R. But for the X100VI, like, I'm willing to trade discreetness over not necessarily having to get another lens, but also the kit lens isn't the exact aperture anyway. So like, it's a slower lens. I think it costs a little bit more. It doesn't have the built-in ND, but they have the same sensor. And personally for me, I wouldn't see a lot of utility out of using the film sim dial. So a lot of things about it, I'm like, they're the same price, and I have to pick one or the other. I think I'll just pick the one that's going to serve the function of being the smaller camera. Debating the X-T5, been using the Sony or the Canon for a while. Yeah, I found that like truthfully, I haven't done a lot of professional photography in a long time. I used to shoot for like magazines and stuff, and a lot of things now are like for myself. And I find that like the camera choices I use aren't like workhorses. Where when I was shooting a lot of photography for magazines and stuff, I was using the I think it was like A7R5. It was the A7R5 and the A7 III. I find that like those are like work cameras, but now that like photography, at least for clients, isn't necessarily a big part of like what I'm doing, I find the more aesthetic cameras a lot more fun to use. Just picked up the X100VI as well. Hey, let's go. I'm gonna probably get a couple. I got a couple like really custom accessories for it. I found on Etsy there's like a custom golden Pikachu hot shoe mount cover, and then I found another thing that's gonna be actually another gold Pikachu, but it has a little button on it, which is gonna be kind of cool. So I have like a little shutter button, and then I also have um a hot shoe button coming up. And then I'll do like an accessory guide. I think I'm gonna have like a couple of different versions of this, but my first like accessory guide, I'm gonna use some of the stuff I just picked up. What's up? I'm watching while at work. It's 8:36 a.m., so I can't listen and try to put on subtitles. I'm so sorry, man. This is a very impromptu live stream. I'm gonna start doing lives a little bit more often. The title of this live stream is to talk about the X100VI for like maybe 15 minutes, but a lot of it's gonna kind of into, I think, where the channel is going. Nothing much is going to change. Just the framing of how it's going to go is going to change a little bit. And then also just trying some new stuff. And then I haven't done a live in a little bit. Hey, what's going on, Fox? I'm guessing I missed a lot. It's only been 7 minutes in, bro. You're good. You got rid of the Komodo. Is the S1 not that good? YouTube tried sends much signals on that one. Vincent, I hate to break it to you. I sold my Komodo X like last April. The day of the Pyxis getting announced, the first Pyxis, that's when I sold my red Komodo X. Most of the reason, and actually to be fair, the price dropped by like $4,000 right after. So like I got out just before the price drop. So there was that, but also just when I had it, not a lot of people had them. So I was able to like charge a kit fee and like rent it out and stuff and make some money. The second that caught up, I'm like, do I need it? It's nice. Can I get a similar image and the similar functionality that I would use like the Pyxis for, which was mostly me doing like Google ads because those were a retainer client that I had that paid a lot of money. Then I just used it on the Pyxis instead, and I saved myself like $7,000. And then I bought property with that money. So yeah, I sold the Komodo X. The S1 II isn't that good. I think we have to look outside of things like as a vacuum is like, is the scaling of goodness a 1 to 9, and then if one camera's 7, the other one's 10, or whatever the case is. The S1 II is good for the things that you need it to do. And if you have to like shoehorn different use cases in order for you to need that thing to make the camera good, then maybe it's not that great, and reevaluating your use case is probably going to be your best friend. Yo, I have an X100VI accessory video dropping tomorrow just for you. Let's go. I'm making mine specifically for people with gigantic hands because that turned me off of the X100VI for a long time. So I'm going to talk a lot about like hand grips, like buttons and little like, I can't remember what they're called. I think they're just called like thumb grips, stuff like that. I'm sort of stunned how good the video looks on my X100VI. The built-in ND is nice to have. Yeah, I'm sort of surprised that this is like, it kind of gives FX30. It actually does kind of feel like using the FX30 with like a fixed lens and a built-in ND filter. Obviously, all the other video stuff, like I don't even think you can get audio on this thing properly. It's like a 2.5 millimeter jack, but yeah, you can get some pretty decent stuff on there. I ended up getting the XE5 and using it with M-mount lenses that I already had. That's a smart idea. I didn't think about that. I'm new to the M-mount. Like I just got the Thypox Samara C's, like the little tiny cinema lenses. And for me personally, those are going to be like EDC cinema lenses, which is a kind of weird take on them. But because they're tiny, like they're really, really, really small. trying to see if I have one on the table, but like they're as big as the S9 kit lens. Like some of them are around the same size. So I'm going to look into those a little bit more. Do you think the XT5 is good for professional use, portraits, and product? New Motions, if someone is willing to pay you while using the XT5, then it is a good camera for professional use. Do you have any? No, I have not. I have never used either one of those. I haven't used a Otis or Milvis. I'm not a big Zeiss guy. I wish I was, but I'm not. Is the FX3 smart to still get in 2025, considering possible successors soon to make, seems we were trying to buy the FX3. If you have a job that needs an FX3 right now, I would say just grab one. But if there's like, why do you need like a new FX3 camera now? Would probably be the better question to ask. And the reason why I don't answer indirect yeses or nos on what camera I should buy is because, one, I have no context what you're shooting, and two, oftentimes we kind of want cameras because people like me that get to cover this stuff and you get to talk about them all the time. We'll cover these things and tell you what they do, and then immediately we're almost creating new problems to buy a new camera. But like, evaluate what the problem is and evaluate how soon you need to fix it. That'll probably answer that question far better than I can. I'm between the Otis and the Nisi Aureus. I haven't used the Otis, so I wouldn't know what to tell you, man. I love my Aureus. I finally got the whole set. I have the 18 and the 35 after I borrowed them from Nisi, but I'm working on a project with Nisi, so I have the rest of the set now, and they're mine. But I also pick up, I gotta go see Luke Forsyth tomorrow, but I gotta go pick up the Vespa 2s. I gotta pick up the Vespa 2s tomorrow, so I'm gonna go and do that as well. And then, I don't know, like the Aureus lenses are kind of like my Arles Prime stand-in because they're smaller. They look really similar when I compare the two of them together. They cost the same. The only problem that I have personally is like the outer ring is a weird size, but I mean, the Arles Primes are also 95mm too, so it is what it is. I've used the X100VI in a pinch when I need a third camera. I wouldn't have thought of that. But like, again, being kind of at terms with like this camera stuff along with freelancing, even though now it's like an 80-20 split, I could see that being a thing if like you're in a pinch, like you're really, really stuck. I've been driving myself crazy trying to decide a cinema camera to get, the OG Komodo versus Pyxis 6A. I know you sold the Komodo X for the Pyxis, but any thoughts on the matter? All my lenses are Super 35. Fox, if you have a camera that already has all the lenses, then you may as well just buy the Super 35 camera. That sounds like that makes sense. Unless you want to sell the Super 35 lenses and you're okay with losing money and then buying full frame equivalents that are also going to have to be PL or L mount, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Like, keep in mind, when I buy and sell cameras, a lot of it has nothing to do with me not liking image quality. It has to do with like workflow things that are particular to my workflow that are hindrances using other cameras. Most of the time, it's like not to do with a lot of image quality things, if that helps. You can use external mics with a 2.5mm adapter. I use it all the time with the Hollyland stuff here and there. I might consider that. I don't know when I heard about the 2.5mm jack, I'm like, what the hell does that even look like? I've never seen one. Hey, we got a super chat from Samuel David Cinema. When Kofi goes live, time for my treadmill session, my boy has come in clutch. Hey, respects, man. I'm going to start doing lives a bit more often. For those of you guys that don't know, I started channel memberships, and that's not a plug for channel memberships, but I will say them, but there's going to be like 3 support tiers. There's one that's just like, I like your face and I want to give you $3 or something like that a month. But it goes right up into a lot of these lens reviews, a lot of these camera reviews. I have a bunch of footage and people were like, well, give us the footage so we could play with it. And my answer is like, yes, but I'm going to ask for money for that because I would ask that of my clients. There's a membership tier where you could sign up where you can get raw footage at the end of each of some of these reviews. And right now we're doing like 3 at the same time. I have like the Nisi Aureus going on. I have the DZO Vespa Prime 2s. I also have the Typox Samara Cs that are going on as well. So there's going to be like 3 folders of raw footage. And there's also things that are like Ursa 12K stuff that I still may get footage from and give like a footage dump of that as well. But like once a month, there'll be a Dropbox where you can kind of download them. I somehow ordered the X100VI on Tuesday, got it Friday from Adorama, said it was a back order and still shipped out in noir. Yeah, so I think what ended up happening is for some reason, the X106, the XE5, and the XE5 kits all are suddenly in stock all of a sudden. Like when I could go to a retail store right now. Let me just see if I could like find it. Let me get out of my ChatGPT thing. Let me go to like Vistech. If you guys live in Canada, you'll know about Vistech. It's like it's like the Canadian B&H photo. Let me just go Fuji X100VI. Oh shoot, they're out of stock again. Dang, that was fast. Okay, never mind. I lied. Hang on, let me see Henry's. X106 Black Edition. Expected availability. The silver one is in stock. Unavailable in store, but you can get it online. So like, yeah, you can buy some of these cameras like right out the gate now, or at least like with a faster turnaround, which is nice. I don't need a camera. I just want my first mirrorless. I figured this is something better. Bon, I think you're asking me for information on cameras that haven't released yet, and I'm going to not tell you them, but I'm going to say that if you need a camera today, then I would pick up an FX3. If you don't need a camera today, then don't buy anything, regardless of how good it is. You enjoying the X106 so far? I can't bring myself to spend the money on fixed lens cameras just yet. Maybe someday. Here's the thing. With the RX100 Mark III, which I had my eye on, and then I looked at the price tag, and I'm like, no. I could spend 2.5 less times the money, and I could get an X106. And I think for me personally, and we'll talk about like turning the freelance filmmaking thing into more of a personal brand, because I think content creation, filmmaking, freelancing, whatever, like they're all just arms of a creative entrepreneur. And I think my mindset has changed a little bit on that, from I'm a real filmmaker and I'm going to teach you how to do the same, to just like we're all just entrepreneurs making money using our skills. All segue to say that like having like the small kind of like everyday camera for like when I do random stuff, like tomorrow I'm going to go to the CN Tower. I haven't gone to the CN Tower in like 25 years. But I want to take the X106 in order to do that, because bringing the giant GFX doesn't make any sense. And I don't necessarily need the photos to be print worthy. So like I want to do that. That's where that camera comes into play. Versus like I associate now like interchangeable photography cameras with like work stuff, and like stuff where like I want to print that. So it has to be like the perfect focal length and aperture and all the other stuff. For the X106, I'm like, I just want it to look good. And also I want it to be discreet. My big thing is discretion for a lot of these things. Do you have a favorite lens that you use on the GFX 50R? No, but I have a favorite GFX lens in general that I can't afford, and it's the 55f 1.7. It's way too expensive for me to buy. In retrospect, actually, I probably could have bought it instead of the X106, but the X106 does so much more than a singular lens. So hey, tomorrow in the cut, I know for a fact tomorrow that it is way too late for you to be awake. Oh no. Yeah, it might be too late for you to be awake. You should be in bed. It is a Sunday night. You got things to do in the morning. But hey, I'm here for it regardless. Hey, Giovanni, never missing a friggin' live stream. Guys, no matter what time I start a live stream, Giovanni's in it at some point, which is dope. Went to Pacific Mall and visited Toronto, and they had an X106 out in the open. Yeah, Tommy, so like you caught it at a great week, because any of the Canadian retailers all had them in stock for like a few days. You could also pick them up on Amazon now, which I learned. Like you can get an XE5 on Amazon in Canada. So you could do that now, which I think is just like a blip, like a flash in the pan. I don't think it's going to last. So the X106 Black is in stock at B&H last week for a few hours. Yeah, it's in stock on Amazon. If you're in Canada, you can get it on Amazon. How small does it look in your hands? I sold my X106 when I had one because it was too small for me, and your hands are definitely dwarf line. I'll take off the eyelets on here, or the camera strap. It's actually not bad. Like it's like palm size. Like it's pretty much the length of my palm, which is nice, but the grip is deep enough that like I can still put my hand on it and it's not too bad. Like it's a pinky. Like I'm missing a pinky, like half a pinky, about 3.5 fingers. So I'm actually not too bad. But you need a grip for that. Like I couldn't do without a grip, like it looks like a children's toy. Thanks for the advice. I'm still undecided, but input helps. What's your mentality on going out to take pictures now that you have an X100VI? Generally speaking, if I like, um, if I'm like just going on a walk or something like that, that's where that stays in my pocket. Oftentimes because like the GFX 50R, it's not pocketable, but like if I'm just doing stuff that has like no sort of creative connotation, like it's not something where I'm gonna post it, but I still want to have fun. Um, I guess it's just where you have those like fun cameras without spending $10,000 for a Leica. Like that's the X100VI. On the FX3, I want to totally in the Sony ecosystem though. Yeah, so there you go. There's someone that loves the FX3, but yeah, in terms of telling you what to buy, when to buy it, and without a lot of information, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm not going to be those creators that are going to tell you what to buy. I just tell you what the thing does and let you make your own decisions. You got to read. Yeah, I did. It was super weird. It was very strange. It took me 3.5 hours to make sure that I had one. The 55 f1.7 is great. Yo, so I would say my display picture that you see on all the videos, like my wall, the backdrop or the background, that was on the 55-1.7. Hey, Papa Kofi, Uncle Kofi. Now I'm not Papa, I'm Uncle. So, for what it's worth, what do you think is the best video image is in the 3.54? Okay. Image wise, and like here's the thing, they're all gonna be super close together. What's $3,500 US? I would go on the air of being like the S1R2, but it doesn't have as much dynamic range, so then you have to make those concessions there. I would love to answer this again when the Pyxis 12K comes out, because I have the Ursa 12K, and if they're going to be the same sensor, they're both going to look great. It's not going to be Sony, but Sony's a utility thing. Like Sony's not necessarily, it's not a bad image. It's just not the best image, and it's going to be a utility thing. And like maybe the OG Komodo, I guess. And I'd say like the Canon C80 are also options as well. No, it's not $4,500. I don't know. Like again, when I'm talking about like what are the best images, it's pretty much every camera that's come out between 2023 and like yesterday. That's 3.5 to 4.5K are argumentatively have an argument to be the best images out of every camera. I can't even tell you there's a bad one in any of them. I can tell you that like I wouldn't necessarily pick an FX3 over all of them, but then also there's things the FX3 can do that are not image related that the other cameras can't. So, and it was time. Hey, that happens. I just recorded I batch recorded 4 videos today. I have B-roll that I still have to do for these 4 videos. I got a video on a tripod on the Manfrotto 1 tripod that I still have to do this week. And then September, we're going to try a couple of new content platforms. But for me to try new content platforms, that means I like aggregately make a lot of content. So for September, I think I have like 14 uploads on the schedule, which is a lot. Hey, Mighty Miggy, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while, man. Yeah, or you can buy it used. Thumb grip has been a game changer for me in this camera. Yeah, here's the thing, like the hot shoe cover that I'm going to get doesn't have a thumb grip, and you can't get a thumb grip any other way. And I feel like I'm going to like be back and forth between what I prefer. So, yeah. Yeah, Bon, I would say like if you don't have a reason to buy a camera right now, and it's just like a thing, like a thing to check off on the list, just chill out until you do. Because a new camera comes out every like 10 minutes. So like this conversation changes in 45 days from now. And then it'll change again in 45 days from that. So, hey, you need an editing break. What's going on, Charles? I definitely need to start editing, but I have put it off till tomorrow. Today was a big recording day. I got a couple more photos on the X100VI because I'm working on a video for it. But after listening to a couple of things in like the personal branding space and things that like aren't filmmaker, photographer, content creator related, I'm thinking of maybe rejigging how I'm going to do that video, and also like rejigging how I'm going to do content a little bit. Because I think there's like, I don't know, my mindset's changed a little bit for certain things. I haven't made upload a video since build. Just have been working a lot, enjoying summer. Yeah, that's actually perfect. Daniel Gonzalez, X100VI for A7C Mark II. Considering I have both of them, whatever your situation calls for. Again, like the I want to reiterate in live streams and in content is like without context of what you need, or like without some sort of criterion, no one camera is really better than the other, especially like the recent ones. If you want interchangeable lenses and good video, then the A7C II, and it's going to cost you a little bit more because you have to still buy like lenses and stuff to do that. If you just want to take photos as like an EDC thing, then the X100VI. But everything's going to be, it depends. So rejigging is the word of the day. I wish there was a Gunyan, like a shoe equivalent of rejigging, but I don't think there is. But yeah, so bought the X100VI. I think it's a great camera. I'm going to take it out on like photo adventures. I think where I'm going to go with like talking about this camera is obviously the accessories, because I think with cameras like this, the Leica Q2 and like other kind of like pocketable jewelry cameras, I guess you'd call them, there's kind of a cool thing about like customizing it because it speaks to your personality. So I kind of want that to be like a part of the channel of like, I used to do a lot of rig builds like back in the day, and it just said a lot about your workflow, and it was a conversation starter. So I want to do that with Fuji cameras, but also there's like things that I'll do that aren't necessarily like filmmaker focused that I just want to take pictures at. And I think that's going to be some of the content on the X100VI. For example, I want to like revisit all of the cool spots in Toronto that I used to go to, then just stop doing it all of a sudden. And I'm going to take this camera to do it. So I went A7C and didn't look back at my previous X100VI. The fact that you could change lenses is so important for me. Yeah, Charles, I'm like oddly on the opposite, and I think this also like the reason why I don't pick one or the other, because it has context. Like the context is, what do you have available to you? Also, Giovanni, no, my Nikon ZF has found a home, and there's a reason for that I can't tell you yet. So my Nikon ZF has found a home. But yeah, some people need a out of like their EDC photo camera to have interchangeable lenses because they're gonna change things up every day. But and that's based on what you have, right? Like if I already have a camera that does that, then I don't necessarily need like my everyday kind of pocketable camera to do that. But again, different people for different strokes. But I do like the A7C II. It's actually it's sitting in a box to get repaired because the shutter button broke for reasons that are too embarrassing to talk about. Always love having so much reach out asking if you have multiple cameras for podcasts. And yes, I have multiple cameras, but one, the Sydney 12K isn't a podcast camera. Certain cameras serve certain purposes. Yeah. So Tim's nail on the head here. And I think like, and this kind of is like a segue into kind of where I'm hit or miss on the channel a little bit. And the reason why is I've come to an impasse kind of in things where I don't want to freelance all the time. I don't want freelance filmmaking to be my entire personality. I don't want how to pick up jobs as a DP from somebody else and building their brand up and how to do retainer clients, all that stuff. Like I don't necessarily want that to be the core of my content, because just like people have negative feelings about things like hustle culture and like always having to grind and always having to work, it feels like continuously kind of hammering at that point for other creators to get into freelancing at that type of level and that type of frequency from someone that's done it for like 5 years and has worked a ton. I don't know if that's a direction I want to encourage the audience to get into, rather than kind of being a more well-rounded creative entrepreneur, which also involves doing things like making content or talking about technology and things that you like, and like integrating other things that you can use to use your creativity to make money, versus just always saying, don't use YouTube, it's not real, be a freelance filmmaker instead. And I don't want that to necessarily be my content. And I think a lot of people might find benefits from like always being the person that's like, I'm the hardcore filmmaker and I'm different than YouTube, or I'm better than YouTube, or whatever the case is. And I don't want that to be me anymore. Now, does that mean I'm going to change anything? Absolutely not. There's a lot of things that I'm still doing that are like filmmaking stuff, but it's just I'm doing them instead of me doing it for a client. I want to make a documentary on the Ursa 12K because I am interested in doing that, not necessarily some sort of thing where I want to like move up the ranks and work at different agencies and stuff. And those things will still happen and we'll still talk about them. I just don't think that should be the end all and be all for a lot of creative people like photographers and YouTubers and stuff. So Um, with that though, there's also a component of like personal branding that I haven't necessarily dove into. And in the age of like budgets getting cut and AI, and everyone's really afraid of what to do with their jobs as like video creators and freelancers and stuff, there isn't a creator in the space that does personal branding and like that sort of thing, like the Gary Vee thing, but for videographers, photographers, and filmmakers. Now, this might take a little bit of time, and I think I'm gonna kind of like drip it in and hold it back a bit because everybody gets really mad about any creators in our space actually making money. So I'm gonna kind of just like maybe, not go super ham on that content. But I also think there's something to be said about people that are gonna learn how to transition to make and leverage content creation because their business is going to be the creative entrepreneurship part, right? Like photography isn't all of you. It's just a way that you use your creativity to make money. Filmmaking isn't necessarily all of you. It's a way that you can use things to make money and move up in your career and stuff. But being able to use things like social media gives you a lot of leverage. So what I'm trying to do is move into how do you build a personal brand around the creative skills you have and then also acquire new skills while at the same time being able to make content about stuff that you like. So, um, and also a lot of those things will help out a little bit later on. Like, for example, like Artlist is fully helping me pay for some of the projects I want to do. And had I not made content like this, talking about cameras and techniques and stuff like that, I wouldn't have attracted a brand to give me the money for me to make my own things, which is like what Creator's been doing the whole time. I think some people have ill feelings about Creator being an agency, but like talent agencies exist. It's a fact of life. But the way that that works usually is leveraging the content that we make to ascertain brand deals to create projects that are more creatively fulfilling while at the same time being able to interact with brands in a financial way. So I have a 26 millimeter pancake lens for my ZF, and it still fills EDC void for me pretty nicely. I wish the 26 f8 millimeter lens that Lumix makes was like f4, same size but f4, because it like f8's an ugly lens and you can only use it in daytime, but it's a lot of fun. But that's dope. Conversion lenses for the X100VI scratch. Oh, yeah, you might have to put me on some conversion lens stuff, man. I don't know anything about that. What happened to the Lumix S you still have from time to time? Yeah, I use the S9 all the time. The S9 though I don't use for photos. Like I don't take I literally don't take photos with the S9. Like I did when I was in Japan because it was a photo camera that I had. Having the X100VI, I'll probably use the X100VI or the GFX. But my Lumix S9 is honestly one of my favorite BTS cameras because in my overalls pocket, I could put the S9 with the kit lens with an ND filter like right in the middle pocket. So if you watch the 48-hour film that we did with the Ursa 12K with me, Tobin, Tamara, Joseph, and Terry, a lot of that BTS was me just like putting this either around my hand or in my overalls and then just taking it out, getting a clip, and then putting it right back in and going about my business. But I use the S9 all the friggin' time. That thing, I literally keep that thing on me. Hong Kong just finished the first coffee. Damn, I want to try going to China. Or, yeah, Hong Kong. No, Hong Kong's its own separate country. I keep freaking that up. I do want to go to China at some point, hopefully next year. Access is a big factor, being able to have the X100VI and interchangeable lens camera. And when you have access to the candy store, I want everything. That is true. We're in the age where producers no longer understand how to budget camera rentals from a rental house and are hiring labor separately. Just hire a camera operator and the rent of the camera needed for the job. Yeah. And also, I feel like that particular part of the industry is also going to change in gigantic ways where some people are going to benefit from it and a lot of people aren't going to benefit from it, where like I would rather be ahead of where this curve is going and at least start falling on my own sword. Because if I'm going to like be in a part of the industry that maybe gets dropped off, at the very least, I'd rather fall back. Like I'd rather that sword that I fall on being my own personal branding falling apart and not an entire industry, which I hope the industry doesn't fall apart, but it is changing drastically and teams are getting a lot smaller. So like, I don't know. And also trying to like encourage people that are like younger and impressionable to kind of chase that same rabbit. It might not be the most advantageous thing in the world. Like it might actually be worse for some people to try to go up that way, the same way, like the way that it used to be. might hurt more than it'll help. So I'd rather do that. And also, just I don't know. I'll, humility aside, I'm kind of good at this stuff, so I may as well keep making content about how to be good at this stuff. But let me know, like, does that make sense? Does looking at your skills as a filmmaker or photographer or anything like that integrate with making your own content as a leverage point to keep making the content that you feel like making? Is teaching how that framework works make any sense? Because there are some people that certifiably just want to come in here, produce, like, in promote their own business. They just want to say, like, hey, this is what it's like to buy from me, buy from me. And there's other people that want to make this more personable, because they see what they can do more holistically. I also said a ton of words there, so if I lost anybody, like, just tell me now. Because everyone went really quiet. Everyone went so quiet. Okay, Hong Kong is a part of China. It's under a one country, two systems framework. Okay, Myron, I get that mixed up all the time, whether or not Hong Kong is a separate country or it's a part of China. Thank you for clearing that up. Even major productions are going overseas, so freelance labor market is suffering. Yeah, man. So I learned this when I went to Ghana, and I found out I'm a gigantic nepo baby if I move to that country. And my dad's stepsister, Jackie Eboa, and I don't know if anybody is in Nigeria, Ghana, or whatever, is one of, like, the biggest Nollywood stars or, like, African movie stars out. She's on billboards and stuff, and it's my dad's sister. But anyways, from what I'm starting to understand is that a lot of productions are moving over there. And one of the things that has happened, especially in, like, commercials, is the Super Bowl commercial last year was shot in Accra, Ghana. They went all the way to Ghana, they flew out their crew there, and now they're building a bigger film community over there, to the point where hopefully this happens, but there may be connections where Idris Elba's film studio, I might get to tour, and if he's there for Desi December, which I'm sure he probably will, I may be able to, like, meet him. But again, that's pie in the sky, like 15% chance of happening, 85% chance of not. But the idea there is exactly to what Tim was saying. We're like, things are going to get outsourced. So while that's getting outsourced and while that pendulum is kind of turning the other way, making content still has a global audience, especially when YouTube can translate your stuff depending on whoever watches it. So where I'm at with that is that, like, you still have skills in all of these things. You may as well use these skills to either make your own content, depending if you want to make videos about cameras or videos about off-roading, whatever the case is, build a personal brand off of that, and then use the spoils of the personal branding to then build the content that you can leverage, that maybe if they are outsourcing, at least you're better than what they've outsourced to. So particularly, you can still get a job in a project you want to work with at a higher level. At least that's what I think is happening, or at least that's what I think will happen. So that's my idea. Budget's getting cut heavy, and my personal branding has saved me from allowing me to make money in other ways. Do you know where possible? Yeah, Mario, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And I think there needs to be conversation about personal branding, especially for guys, like, for people like us that are creative entrepreneurs that have done photography and video for a long time. And a lot of it has to do with, and a lot of it has to do with, a lot of the things that the filmmaking and photography community are really upset about that some creators are involved in, like brand deals or press trips, not realizing that that's part of the benefits of the personal branding thing that may save you from some of the economic turbulence from the freelance industry that you're participating in. Now, that's not to say that there isn't things that are rightfully to be annoyed at, and there's ways that you can answer those things, and there's also ways you can approach them with tact and maturity. But being able to be in that ecosystem, because again, say, for example, the American audience or the American community of filmmakers or freelancers has a little bit of a dip in terms of budgets and stuff like that. There's still the rest of the world where your content feeds the rest of the world in terms of being able to understand how that works. So me teaching things about the X100VI might not serve somebody in Charlotte, I think it's North or South Carolina. I don't know whatever, Charleston, not Charlotte, whatever state Charleston is in. It might not serve somebody there, but there might be someone in, like, Senegal that can speak English and understand English that is going to consume your content and learn from it, which will also help contribute to your personal brand. You're right about building personal brand to generate income and finance your projects you want to shoot. We shouldn't expect anyone to invest in our projects if we're not willing to invest. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And that, like, I almost pressed ban button, Myron. I'm so sorry. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. The thing is that, like, in order to get the money to get those investments, like, you have to kind of do the selling the digital products, working on brand deals, building, like, doing all the content stuff. And I think where some people don't realize is that in the interim of trying to finance your own stuff and actually coming out with the thing, you get to see how that process is and what some of those outputs are, which is brand deal videos and making social content. And you're almost like mad in the middle, not realizing what the big picture is. And it's easy to do that, right? Especially when you haven't necessarily made the film yet, because you're still using brand deal money to save up things in order for you to pay for the whatever case may be later on, right? So that's what I look at it as. But yeah, you're totally right. I see it as the end of the day, they don't pay because of your camera. They pay for your art slash who you are, regardless of location. Mighty Miggy, that is also incredibly true. And the way that you can display that art and who you are on a frequent basis is only a personal brand. Like, it makes sense. In my head, it makes sense. At least that's where I think it is. I'm super open to hearing if that makes me crazy for doing so. But also, I do think that there's a lot of value, especially because there's a lot of creators that don't know a lot of things about, like, personal branding. Everybody knows how to freelance for somebody else's personal brand, but a lot of people don't know very well how to make their own. That includes me. Like, I also am very, very good at communicating. I'm very good at making content. I'm very good at finding ways to make money. But one thing that I realized that there isn't necessarily a personal brand. Like, your personal brand association with me is that I make jokes, I'm African, and I talk about cameras. Like, that's not necessarily a personal brand. That's not something I could compile into a mission that is packageable and understandable by people that are outside of our space. So I'm still learning that. And I think I want to make content as I'm still learning that kind of stuff to help other people kind of learn that too. We basically need OnlyFans for filmmakers to finance filmmaking now. I think the pivot for narrative is more independent films. Brands and social media influence are another income. Here's the thing. The OnlyFans for filmmakers is YouTube. It's YouTube. It's kind of what it is. And depending on how much you give on your OnlyFans will dictate how much your income is. A lot of these things we're identifying is already a platform that exists. Some of us are just not playing to the playbook that's going to give us the best result is what I could kind of qualify that as. Yeah, I'm not getting to know Hong Kong China debate. Whatever you think, whatever you tell me Hong Kong is in relation to China is whatever I'm going to believe. I'm just going to that's that. I want nothing to do with geopolitics at all. And there's a ton of it, because if I have to pay attention to one of it, then I have to pay attention to all of it, and I don't have the capacity, and I don't have the empathetic energy in order to be concerned about everything going on in the world all at the same time. Hang on a second. I'm pretty sure Angel's probably gonna send me this, like, right away. But yeah, I still have a lot of questions on that whole, like, personal branding thing. And, like, so I guess even going deeper than that, what would be kind of advantageous is for photographers and filmmakers, like, how do you develop a personal brand as a whatever discipline that you are, and doing content on that from the perspective of someone who has no idea, and identifying somebody who has a business and then somebody who has a brand, right? And people that have businesses just kind of take on everything. Someone who has brand has the ability to say no, but also say yes at a higher rate. And how do you determine which one is the other? But then also, like, how do you determine how you want to speak to your audience, and, like, what products that you might want to consider getting into? what things around the brand that's you as a creative entrepreneur are things that you want to get involved in, and what are the pluses and minuses of each one. I want to kind of go through and discover some of those things because I don't know them all. Like I know how to do brand deals now. I know how to make content. I've done a ton of events for different camera brands and stuff, and like I've done paid workshops and stuff. Um, but I don't know. I couldn't develop that into a framework. I know like it's kind of I'm riding by the seat of my pants, and like as they come up are things that I'm gonna do. Um, so trying to figure out how to do that, and also like figuring out, well, what content does well for people that are getting it, like people like, so what content does well for someone who's like running a camera videography filmmaking channel? What content does well for like a photographer, for example? What content does well for people that are kind of all encompassing? Um, should you start podcasts, and how should you start podcasts? Like how frequently should you shoot, and how do you experiment with different content types and funnels? Like I want to dive into that because I also have a business degree. Fun fact. But I wanted to dive into that, but specifically for people that are like in our space or like camera niche, because everyone in like video also does photo, and everyone in photo also does a little bit of video. And people that do both also make content for other people, but struggle doing it for ourselves. So is it crazy to start making content on how to do that specifically for us folk? Or maybe even dissecting why people talk about cameras so much and why they get so many views. Because I have a framework in the psychology of why that works and why that happens, and why it's not so bad actually doing it. So there's things in there. Do you work on personal film projects that are not profitable, but you produce them because it's important? Um, I produce things that are important to me. I again, like in terms of like where I put filmmaking and stuff like that, I don't necessarily need to make, because then it's not for me. If I'm not interested in it, then it's not for me. And if sometimes things that are important that aren't important to me. But yeah, I've done like spots and stuff like that of things that I'm interested in. I'm working on two docs right now with two different boxers. So yeah, I definitely do that, but like you only have so much time and you only have so much money. So exactly, if I'm in Australia and I've got no time for geopolitics, I just want to talk cameras and travel. Yeah. And I think that's totally fine. Oh wow. So I think geopolitics is the way of the Alien franchise with corporations as the new governing powers. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's been it for a while now. Wayland Yutani will become the power of North and South America. Again, this too grim for me, bro. I'm having a good day today. I'm trying to go into none of that. Ironically, on here cruising for the X106 info, have one on loan from a friend for the past few weeks. I love it, waiting to pull the trigger. Vincent, I mean, if you could put a no deposit pre-order down and you like it, I actually like it a lot. I think it's really cool. I understand why people like it so much, especially people that were like RX1R Mark II fans, people that are Leica fans, some of the Rico people, although I like having a viewfinder. When I'm like specifically taking photo, I like having a viewfinder. On the S9 where it could kind of be both but more so video, I could kind of get away with that and not care. Um that's just my thing, like Rico versus the X106. Vincent, waiting in stock in Australia, very small stock here. Yeah, it's we had a really weird couple days where you can get one pretty much anywhere. Then it's all gone. I've been in digital media for 30 years, Kofi, but selling feels harder than ever. What to sell, how much? But selling feels way harder. What to sell and how much? Yeah, like that's, and like Edmund, that's not even like a unique position. Everyone's having that problem, and that's where I kind of went into of like going really hard on teaching people how to be better, like teaching people how to freelance, maybe isn't the best decision because you're leading somebody to a burning building. Because everybody across the board, no matter how versed you are, no matter how good you are, even budgets are going down. So for me to sit here and tell you how to further deepen your roots into that, it feels weird. Um, that's kind of where like I was getting at with like I should make more personal branding content as somebody who enjoys camera, enjoys tech, enjoys traveling, freelance from time to time, but also wants to do my own stuff. Kobe's having a little fun by referencing Alien. Uh, What's a show or movie you've been enjoying lately? So I just finished Yellow Jackets. I'm caught up on Yellow Jackets. I finished that a couple weeks ago. I don't think I've watched much since. Like, to be honest, I've been trying this like batching of content because I know I'm traveling again and I'm trying to just get ahead of it weeks ahead. So I started doing videos for September like 3 to 4 days ago. I've just been doing that a lot, but I did watch Yellow Jackets all the way through. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. Alien Earth I haven't watched yet, and don't ruin it for me because I do want to watch it. I just haven't yet. Hey, Matheus, what's going on, boss? Say Myron, next travel to the Philippines and then Taiwan. I'm a travel bug. I need to go back to Asia. I went to Japan and I loved it, but people are telling me that China is slept on and like is underrated as a big tourist spot. Hang on a second. Ageless Pix just sent me a video. That's why you're hearing this. Oh, wow. That is a mall. That is a mall. That's in Hong Kong? There's a Godox store in Hong Kong. I can't share screens right now because I got sensitive information on here. But, damn. Y'all ever see malls in Hong Kong before? Damn. Angel's Picks, can you post that? Like, I wish you could post things in the chat. Like, you could post, like, Instagram links. Damn, that's a serious... Hey, you know what? I'm going to take a look at that. Your lifestyle creator arc is upon us. Truthfully, Mario, kind of. Because, like, I'll be real with you. Freelancing's cool. Working on projects with fitness brands is cool. It gets boring. It pays well. It's great. Like, I'm not saying that it's bad. For the amount of effort that I have to put into some of these shoots, I get paid pretty decent. I used to be such a go hard and like the hustle culture of freelancing. Now I'm like, I want soft life. Not even soft life. I just want to build, like, I want other things to be about my personality. And I think one of the things that I'm worried about, I'm 33 now, is like one of the things I'm super worried about is like when I turn 50, do I want to look back and be like, look at all the freelancing that I did and look at all like the hustling that I've done. Or do I want to look back and be like, look how much fun this camera shit was before the alien robots took over the world. Like, look how much fun this actually was. And the fact that you can still pursue photography and filmmaking, right? And it just, for example, if I wanted to make a photo set as a portfolio piece, I can go to the CN Tower and I could tell a good story with photos and talk about like going to the CN Tower after 25 years and that kind of thing. Like, you can still tell those types of stories. You can still do that under the personal brand. You don't necessarily have to be hired out by a client to do that. And that's kind of where I'm getting at. Gilo Pomelo. Yeah, it does take a little bit of time. Truthfully, this one's like, both of them are only going to be about 3 days a piece of shooting. One of them is my buddy Irv. He had open heart surgery. He's had a congenital heart disease for his entire life. It just so happens that like he's had like a timer on his phone of like when he eventually has to get his valve replaced, and he ended up doing it. And instead of this whole like recovery into a fight, he just decided to run 52 kilometers one day. So he ran 52 kilometers one day. Like, that's kind of the story for that. And then my other buddy, which I botched the interview in terms of one of the angles that I thought that was going to work well. And also, when I was formulating the interview, it just didn't come out the way that I wanted to. Like, I had a lot of conversation, but I didn't have a story. But one of my other buddies used to be a Disney Channel star, got into boxing after, like, you guys know what happened with child actors, and now owns one of the biggest gyms for boxing in the city. But what I did was, and this is going to be a future video, is I use a lot of AI tools in order to help formulate how I want to structure out this documentary by like taking the pre-interviews and also taking the botched interview, transcribing it, putting it into Descript, then going to ChatGPT, getting it to build out like a 3-act structure, then putting that into Milanote where I could actually use some of those prompts that they had inside of the 3-act structure. And then I put that into Artlist AI to actually generate images to give references to the shot list that I needed. So that way I have like all the questions already sorted out, because I like backwards engineered all the answers. And I like went backwards and generated the questions to prompt those again, but better. but then also developed a shot list all using a bunch of different tools. So that's going to be a video in September, and that's what I mean about trying new formats. But I feel a lot more confident in that version of things. So I only need to shoot for a couple days. I just need them to be available. I want to have fun like Russ will every day. Hey, Russ, you know what though? To be fair, Russ has grind. Like I've watched Russ, and I'm friends with Russ too. That man's been grinding since like 2017. Like it's almost been a decade of him being on YouTube. And it's taking that long for him to get all the spoils of it, man. Like, and that's kind of like the generational run that I want to be on. He was like the original like personal branding to the nines. Didn't follow the powerlifter mold. Like wore like 3-piece suits to powerlifting events. For the longest time had custom painted Chuck Taylors that he wore to deadlift, like that kind of thing. And there's stuff about that I have in my own like videography career, my own photography and filmmaking. I just don't integrate that as much on YouTube because I feel like you have to be like the professional. You're a freelancer and you have to portray a certain way. And I'm like, screw it. Screw it. Screw it. Fuji's a lot less thought to put into it. I think you're talking about the X100VI. B-Wash and I were just on set and did a little shoot out of the Fuji Q2, Q3, and the new RX1R. Pound for pound, dollar for dollar, Fuji wins out. Vincent, don't say that too loud. We might have Leica people in here. Vincent, don't say that too loud. What camera are you using as a webcam right now? I am using the Lumix S12E with an 18mm lens and a short stash everyday filter. Kovio love Hong Kong. Lived there for a year. Great base to travel to China from other Asian countries too. Tech capital of Asia with Singapore. If my girlfriend learns how to do comedy in, actually, you could just speak English in Hong Kong. If people like comedians, I could convince my girlfriend to move to Asia. I'm tired of interchangeable lenses. Just grab family memories. The kids move fast, and yeah, this is kind of how I felt like. I had a family event a couple weeks ago. And it was right after the tale of like one of my aunts passed away from cancer, and like I have an aunt and an uncle that both got diagnosed recently, and we had like a family cookout. We have like a family kind of reunion every year from one side of our family, and I brought the GFX 50R, and it got in the way a little bit where like I just didn't use it. Or if I had the X100VI on like a little like lanyard hand strap thing, I could like snap pictures all day long. But on like the GFX, I have to like, it's a slower camera. I have to slow down. It's a bigger camera. So I can't just kind of keep it on my little wrist strap while I'm getting a plate. Like there's certain things you have to consider, where I think the X100VI makes a lot of sense for those things. Hong Kong OnlyFans and aliens. I didn't expect that in today's stream. Yeah, we started off with Fuji cameras. I told my streams go off the rails, bro. You already know. Friend of mine has spent 2-3 years on a documentary, and I feel for him. So much time, but he's passionate about it. Documentary filmmaking takes endurance and dedication. Yeah, you really got to be like, I like making short docs and mini docs because like I give myself 30 days. If it takes me more than 30 days to do it, I just don't finish it. And it's happened twice. I have 2 documentaries that I've started, and I'm like, a 31st day, and I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore. And then I stopped doing it and moved on to something else. So my thing is to mitigate that. I'm going to try to like get everything ready like now and have everything kind of planned out. So I'm just plugging and playing at this point. I watch a lot of YouTube videos from the Philippines. No surprise, one of the biggest viewer groups on the platform. If Kofi tapped in, that's an instant 100K followers. I said it here. Edmund, how do I tap in with the Filipino community? You tell me. I got Filipino friends. How do I do that? How do I get in with the Filipinos? Let me know. We could already talk about basketball. I don't watch basketball, but like, I could figure something out. I could do something. I ain't good at karaoke. I could do something. Let me know. What's the cheat code? What did Charles say? Yeah, guys, the title of my live streams are a suggestion. They're not real. We get to stuff all the time. Just got there. Hey, so looking forward to the documentaries. Interesting use of AI to assist your story structures. Yeah, Gio, there's a lot of like friction around AI, and rightfully so. It's scary, it's unknown, and people don't know where things are going to go. I use it for tools to help me make my life easier all the friggin' time. Like, I just did I'm doing like batch recordings for a lot of the videos I have in September because Sony condos next month. So I don't want to be in a position where like I'm gone for a week and then come home and I still don't make anything for a week because I'm just kind of getting over the week. In 3 days, I was able to script out and plan out 16 videos in like 3 days, maybe spending like 2 hours on ChatGPT 5 each. And like with good information, like I figured out a way using GPT-5 to explain how the RGB sensor works on the Ursa Cine 12K that a 5th grader will understand it. Like that's how powerful that tool is. But yeah, if you use it for not nefarious things, it's a great tool. Just got there. Yeah, it just happened. The difference between content and videos. Content is for clients and views, but videos are for yourself. I'd love to see more filmmaking YouTubers make videos to see their creative sides. Fox, the hard part with that, I think oftentimes we're asking creators to do something. Like we're asking that from creators, and I think we want to make that kind of stuff. But when nobody shows up for it, and you've spent a lot of time and resources, I would rather just do things offline than make the because then once you make content, and that's the thing, once you post something on the internet, it's not for you anymore. Like the second that it goes on the internet, it's public to consume, it is no longer for you. And I think that's one of the things that we fall into, where we say like, oh, one for me, one for you. But once I post it, like it's not mine anymore in a lot of ways. Whereas if I wanted to do something creatively for myself, usually that would be stuff that would never see the internet, to be honest with you. Like that's the creating for me is that I don't post it, because then I don't care about the algorithm. I don't care about outside of opinions. I don't care about whether or not it gets views. And that's a thing. But I think when we want people to dedicate time to do stuff like that, and it takes time and resources, it's tough. It's a tough thing to do. And I think I agree with you. I think people want to show more of the creative sides, and I would like to and I integrate that into videos while still delivering value, because that's the only way I know how to do it. But doing that as like a pure, like, I just want to make a short film about nothing and then post it on my channel. And then when you see nobody shows up, you kind of wonder why you posted it, instead of just make it and keep it to yourself. I like the X100VI so far. I think it's really nice. It's a cheap person's Leica camera. And like by cheap person, I just mean it costs less. I have not had a single problem with how any of the images look, despite it being a smaller sensor. In fact, a lot of times I actually don't realize that it's a smaller sensor, so I've liked it a lot. So, debated selling my XH2S and just going with the X100VI. So it depends if it's for photography, you could, but keep in mind that you can't change lenses anymore, and I think some of the video features may not be there anymore, which is going to be a kind of tough thing to do. What are my thoughts on the new Sigma 200mm f2 lens? Bro, that is going to send backgrounds to the goddamn shadow realm. I'm so excited to use that. I do have a Sigma rep that actually is the Leica rep, or like Gajin. If you guys follow Gajin by N, he works at Sigma, and a good friend, and he was going to get me some hands on that 200mm. I want to wait until the Pyxis 12K comes out, because my buddy actually works at a motorsport track. You would use a 200mm lens for that, but having a 200mm f2 lens L-mount on a 12K Pyxis with the faster readout, I want to just know what would happen. I just want to know. I'm very curious. That might actually be a really good trackside lens. So, or even like a sports documentary lens. Although, in order to get on like CFL or NFL fields, especially the NFL, because they have a tech deal with Sony, you only can use Sony cameras there. So, I'm hoping to maybe figure out some applications for the 200mm and then see how it goes. True, I would keep my X-T1 and X-T3. I feel like, okay, anyone who's a Fuji fan that's here, how many Fuji cameras do you have? Because I feel like everyone that has a Fuji camera has like 2 or 3. And I think it's like mostly because objectively it's less expensive. But who else has who has just one Fuji camera? I should probably ask that part. I remember when NFL teams was all film. I don't remember that. I don't know if I was born. But yeah, if you guys did not know this, and if you guys ever and this is sometimes where like being critical of like marketing sometimes is rightfully justified, where like, for example, the FX2 came out, right? And some people were like, oh, well, they're going to use this camera in Hollywood. Like, this is what you're going to use on set. People use Sony. And I'm like, you're right. I've used Sony. I have the FX line. I do workshops on the FX line. I'm going to Sony Kondo. But it's not offside to maybe also put in the critique that, like, yeah, well, Sony has a pictures division. I could put any Sony camera on a Sony Pictures film and then say, well, it's used in Hollywood. Similarly, and that was all for me to say, is that like the NFL functions like that. Like if you ever go to Facebook groups on the FX3 during Super Bowl season, understand that everybody looking for an FX3 like right this second or yesterday is looking for them because you could only use Sony cameras on NFL fields. And also sign a tech deal very similar to the NHL. So if you want to shoot NHL games, like your barrier involves more than skill set. You also have to have a Sony camera. So at least that's what I read when I read the tech deal for the NHL. I know for the NFL it's an exclusive deal, but with the NHL it might be the similar one. But yeah, man, sports at 200 f2. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. I think it's like $39.99 though, isn't it? It's a pretty pricey lens. Including the Instax, I have 6. See, people don't. Fuji cameras are like Lay's chips. Like people don't have just one. Like I have 3. Like I have the Instax Evo. Do I still have? Yeah, it's right there. I have the Instax Evo. I have the X100VI, and I have the GFX. Like I have each individual level of big back Fuji cameras, except for the X100VI because I need a grip for it. But like they're all big handed cameras, which is hilarious. I had 4 Fuji cameras. Are currently down to 2. So yeah, no one has just one. I do music and been doing it for years. Even did a quick Misty video. Recently, no one showed up. See, like that's kind of what I mean. And like sometimes like those personal film projects, maybe they just won't see the internet. Which 2 do you currently have? Yeah, you have the X100. Oh, you have the same cameras I do. You have the GFX 50R and the X100VI. Yeah, NFL was still shooting film in 2010. Oh shit. Okay, yeah, I was alive. You're right. But they used to shoot all film that made it. Oh yeah, then they made it with Sony. Yeah, so the Ari. I remember the Ari deal that was on there because everyone shot on Ari lives and I think it was like Amirez or something like that. I can't remember what it was on, but yeah, no, the Sony tech deal was was one of the biggest things that they talked about at Kondo last year. Like that was like a big deal. Like Kondo invites like 450, 500 people, and like half of them were people from NFL last year. The other half were like, it wasn't all like Kondo isn't necessarily always a content creator's trip. I only have one, the Fuji X100, old as hell but still functioning. Went to Sony ecosystem for real estate photography, videography, but the X100VI is tempting. You know what I just realized is probably going to happen, and this happened with the GFX 50R. I'm going to make a video on that X100VI, and then I'm going to go on the threads, and someone's going to get mad that the X100VI hype is back again. And they're going to specifically reference that. Like, that happened with the GFX 50R. Like, I made that video on January 1st, and everyone got really weirdly upset about it. And I was like, I didn't understand why. But I think the X100VI is a great camera, especially, like, versus what's come out lately in the fixed lens compact camera game. That is your cheapest foray into having great quality. I don't like men's no more. I like women. Women. Sorry, I don't have the graphic. I'm sorry. I don't have it. I'm sorry. Udo, you're the only woman in the chat. But I have one Fuji, the X100VI. Used to have the XT5, but I got rid of it. See? And guess what? You know what's going to happen? You're probably going to get a Fuji camera at some point in your life. You might get an X-Half or a Instax Evo. Watch. Fuji's a gateway drug. There, I said it. Can you say drug on here? Oh, whatever. Kofi's a Sony Kondo trip invitation only. Can I pay my way in? I think technically you can pay your way in. Or you used to. Sorry. You used to be able to pay your way into Sony Kondo. Now it's invite only. I think mostly because what ended up happening, like mostly now, is because there's like probably things under embargo when you go there. I don't know. I haven't signed anything, so I don't know. But usually press trips, like something drops because I would be financially responsible if it didn't. But I'm Sony Kondo. It used to be a pay to play thing. They invited like way fewer people. Then you could like buy a ticket to go, and based on the day, you can go and like try whatever they have going on. Right now it's invitation only, and truthfully, I think a lot of people have been asking this, which is like, how do you get invited to Sony Condo? Nobody friggin' knows. Literally nobody knows. I have not the largest following on YouTube in terms of people that get invited to Condo. In fact, the only Sony videos that I've made this year was telling you not to buy the FX2. I don't know why I'm going or why I was invited. From what I understand, the people that invite you to certain things is not like a bureaucratic choice. It's a choice of whatever the marketing team says. And if they just like you, they'll probably invite you to places. Like that's kind of like realistically when I've like asked different people about like press trips and stuff, like how do they do the inviting? It's just like, do we fuck with you? Like that's it. Like that's it. That's the criterion. Yes, obviously you increase your chances of doing that, like with like releasing good content and stuff and having a following, it like gets you in the door. But like if you're like the archetype of person that like somebody that does the inviting would fuck with, like that's kind of how you get invited. Like there's no other metric involved, to be honest with you. Okay, that's not a question for me. Started with an XT3. I've only used that one since. I've almost purchased a new several times, but the video AF is unreliable. But now I'm getting photography. Yeah, I don't think I've ever used a Fuji camera for video on purpose. And I think that's where like when I talk about like the X100VI and all the like the problems that it has with it are problems I don't care. Like the autofocus, it's not good. Like it's not good in video autofocus, but like I don't expect it to because I won't use it for that. Like that's the GFX 50R. It's like 1080p with terrible autofocus. I don't even think it has F-log in it. I actually don't know. I've never recorded a video clip on this camera, but I also don't expect it to be good because like it's inconsequential if it is or not. All I want is Sony to release an FX6 Mark II with Blackmagic deal for RAW, internal RAW, or Pyxis 12K Pro that slays the FX6. Tim, let me let you know something right now. If that Pyxis 12K gets autofocus and like decent autofocus, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And it better, you know what? Here's the thing. There's a race that has to happen, and it could win the hearts and minds of a lot of people that are into the medium-sized cinema cameras. And the race, in my mind, is the FX6 Mark II that fixes all the BS that it had beforehand with that stupid-ass audio handle. And also maybe like, give me a downsampled image, please. I'm going to spend like $8,000. Like, give me some, or that Pyxis with everything that has, Pyxis with no hiccups, ProRes, and autofocus. One of those two things has to happen by the time one of the two things happen. And I think whichever one that is will cause a lot of people to reconsider some of their decisions, to be honest with you. For those of you guys that know, no. I mean, I could use a Nika super chat right now. Yeah, maybe save it for the X100T. I didn't realize that the naming conventions for the X100 cameras made sense. Like the X100F is the fourth one, the T is the third one, the V is the fifth one, and the second is the S. I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm sure the Ugreen collab opened your eyes to see how personal branding allows you to transcend your niche. The cool part about that is some of my highest paid collab videos, and again, this is where like this could be a whole video on its own, has no dependent on views and everything to do with having a unique voice to a certain group of people that might be likely buyers. Because like I got paid a decent amount of money for that Ugreen collab. Video only got like 1,800 views. Didn't get that many. But I'm sure out of those 1,800 views, people that are into like filmmaking or cinematography or photography or whatever the case might be are more likely out of the 1,800 to buy a Ugreen NAS system, right? I'd even say this, like in like full disclosure, like the Nisi Aureus lenses are an incredibly expensive set of lenses compared to most things. In order for me to get it, the video that I made got 2,000 views. It didn't get a lot of views, but of those 2,000 views, there are more potential buyers that are interested in it. So they were like, cool, we'll just give you the set. But yeah, I want to do videos on like, in terms of personal branding, sometimes it's not dependent on optimizing for views. Because I also had videos that have 100,000 views that have netted nothing. So. Gear and Tech. Yeah, mostly. Oh, sorry, you're talking to Cozy. Mostly Fuji stuff not meant for video. AF sucks for me. It was really my fun. Yeah, the X100VI I feel like is that fun camera without being Leica priced, because I don't want to have to make $7,000 work to have a fun camera, much less $5,100 in that RX1R Mark III. And I think simultaneously my Instagram DMs are getting, like, it's right behind the chat and I clicked it by accident. Pyxis with internal ND, autofocus, full-size XLR, and some compressed codecs like ProRes and H.265s would be king. Tim, you already have an Ursa Cine 12K LF. What are you asking for? The camera already exists, except for the ProRes codecs. Just use your Ursa Cine 12K. I would love to see, though, if Blackmagic can figure it out, and I don't know how they're going to do that, but the interchangeable mount, if they can make an L mount with the electronic contact, because the EF mount exists. And if you can get an EF full frame lens mount with contacts to get autofocus eventually, can we just get an L mount one as well? Which would make sense considering the other cameras have L mount. But I'd love to see that. I'd also love to see maybe like an M mount for the Ursa Cine 12K, but that's more selfish than it is actually practical. How time is it at? Yeah, I've been live for like an hour 15. I might go in like 30 minutes. Why is this shill live? Cam, because you don't clean your ass after using the bathroom. That's why. I do love the Ursa Cine 12K. I personally, for me, that is in terms of like the big camera, that's the last one I think I'm ever going to buy. And like, I think it's easy for me to say that now because I've only owned it for like 3 weeks. But every time somebody asks me about it, I'm like, I don't know where to go from there. Like from the Ursa Cine 12K, I don't know where to go from there. Super chat from Jason Morris. Actually, I'm going to say the super chat is a direct result of me saying that Cam doesn't wipe his butt. But he said, how blessed are we to have so much awesome gear to choose from? Jason, absolutely. And I think, and this kind of goes into what we we're talking about with like personal branding. I think accepting the fact that some of us are in a unique position where we get access to play around with this stuff and then just like have conversations like we're talking to our buddies about it. I think personally that's like kind of cool. Some people might disagree with that. Some people might have name calling for it and stuff like that. But like, I think that's a really cool thing. Like in the side of also like teaching some of your techniques and tutorials and being creative is that you're running a show, you're running a tech show, which I think doesn't distract from the fact that you're still in the filmmaking and production space, whether it be photography or video, because you're running a show. So however you creatively run the show is a direct result of your skill sets as somebody in video production or filmmaking. Again, and that kind of goes in, and like the personal branding education side of it is kind of like teaching the business of it. But instead of me saying like, again, you have to be this freelancer and lose your entire life to this rat race, you can make your own stuff and use leverage. Cause like there shouldn't be a world where vloggers are making better stuff than some filmmaking channels. That shouldn't exist. And while at the same time, they also understand personal brand far better than those same filmmakers. And we're sitting here arguing about who has IMDb credits. Like that shouldn't be a reality. And instead of jumping into that fight face first, which I would have done 6 months ago if it was a Threads post, I think just doing the thing. Yeah, Cam, I just made that up. I'm sorry, man. I'm sure you wipe with your left hand. Unless you're left-handed, then that's weird. Oh boy, Shillin Chief is here. Yeah, he's gonna tell us all about why we should buy Leica cameras, and I'm not buying it. Coming from Sony, L-mount is hella annoying. Yeah, you get used to it. I don't know what else to tell you, Carlos. I wish I had more for you, but you get used to it, man. It's hella cool. Yeah, Cam's got your light. I have 2 of Cam's lights. I have not made that video yet because Cam hasn't made his Kofi Cups video. There, I said it. All right, Leica Q3 versus the X100VI. X100VI, because I could actually afford one. The end. I don't like, yeah, if I had all the money in the world, I'm probably gonna buy a Leica Q343. Don't have all the, but like if we're based in reality, don't have Q343 money. No, Tim, it's not the next step. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Tim. I know that's a logical next step. I unless if I have an Ursa Cine 17K, there's only 3 situations where that would happen. 4. 1, Blackmagic gave it to me for free. 2, Blackmagic gave me an insane deal on it where it was almost irresponsible not to buy. 3, I stole it. Or 4, yeah, no, that's just 3. Those are the only 3 ways. I either got a deal on it, got it for free, or I took it from somebody. Because like for me personally, I functionally have no use for that large of a sensor to buy all the lenses and stuff. I'm gonna be happy with, you know what it is. If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do exactly that. In regards to the Ursa Cine 12K with mirrorless cameras, I will hoard these guys all the live long goddamn day. Wow, damn. Kofi says, it's your fault I own the FX6. Might as well tell me which camera to buy next year. I wipe and wash my ass. Dude likes. Yeah, I mean, we can revisit that next year. We can do that next year. Yeah, you know what? At the end of the year, I'll be like, hey, that's what we'll do. We'll have like an award show for the end of the year. Like if I had unlimited money, like this is what I would buy. Or if I had limited money, because I have limited money, this is what I would buy. Yeah, when I see new fitness and fashion influencers with better edits than filmmakers, I knew we were messing up. Yeah, Mario, because we focus so much on infighting all the goddamn time. I think I watched, like, I don't even know. I think her name is Paige. And, like, I know nothing about this lady. And I'm watching her stuff, and I'm like, how did she make a whole short film about her breakup with her boyfriend? And I'm sitting here being like, this is how you figure out handheld footage. Like, I look like an idiot. That's basically what's happening here. So my thing is, and it's stupid because I have so many videos that are like tutorial based next month because I want to try a format. But I think if we are all as good as we say we are, then why not apply that to personal branding? Why shouldn't we just be the best ones at doing it? That's all I'm trying to say. And I want to transition to do that. But at the same time, I want to teach the rest of the people how to do that as well once we stop fighting all the goddamn time. I'm not going to make this content about how you guys can make money as a creator until we all could, like, en masse agree that yelling that creators make money is stupid. It's stupid. I think most of them hire people, though. You're right, they do. So, for example, that Page video, Brady shot it. However, that also means that you know how to be a producer and a director, because I'm sure that Page girl has a shot list of how she does things with her personal brand and has figured out locations, has figured out like how to structure a shoot, which is like still an inherent filmmaking skill, and then just got someone skilled at shooting the thing in order to fill in that gap. The fact that you now have like vloggers and lifestyle creators that are EPs now and know how to do that, and there's people in the filmmaking space that don't know how to do that, I think that's the big thing to like look at and be like, holy crap, what are we doing? What this whole YouTuber versus filmmaker thing has completely distracted us from the idea that there are people using our skill, like the tutorials that we're teaching, people are using to beat our asses with financially and from an audience perspective too. Don't believe in me, Kofi got bank. I don't know. I don't know who you think has money. The way that my money goes into bank accounts that I never see again. Also, are you ready? What? Oh, shoot. I got to figure out my Ghana tickets. My sister just called me. Also, yeah, like, put this in perspective. My sister, my younger sister, who I'm not going to put the ad on here because you guys are sick, is also becoming a fashion lifestyle creator. In 3 years, she's going to have better shit than I might if I don't change anything. Also, she texts me because she wants a Kofi cup, so we're going to do that. Yeah, most of my money goes directly back to the government, bro. I got enough to get I have enough money to make myself feel like I'm doing something nice, but never enough where like there's restaurants I still can't afford to go to. And I think I like living my life that way. Carlos, I went online today to buy an L-mount and ended up with a Tamron 35-150, hard to pivot randomly. Yeah, that happens. I think I've seen that short film. Myron, here's the thing. That film is generally her whole channel. So the fact that somebody could pull that together, that's not a filmmaker. Yeah, 100%. But like these are the things I'm talking about, right? Like instead of going knee deep into the I'm a filmmaker industry on YouTube, which also just like objectively doesn't have nearly as many views or nearly as many upsides because people are trying to use that skill set to do exactly what she's doing, not necessarily to be into um not necessarily like you know what I mean? Like they're doing things in a different way. They're taking the skill sets that people are using and the fact that we're teaching those skill sets but not applying it to other brands or like our own brands, like that's kind of a problem. Pages videos, what I mean by videos versus content. Fox, I would also like to point out though is that because Page is monetized and because there are things like brand deals, AdSense, and other personal branding spoils that you get from that, that's what I mean. Because you're being able to financially benefit from those things gives you the ability to keep making those things. Whereas if you have somebody like myself, who I don't necessarily have the money to do all of that and also not get any extra viewership from it, that's going to be the difference. The difference is that Page has the resources in order to do that. Whereas in like the filmmaking camera niche, when people do that, it doesn't give you the same result, which is why you don't see it from those particular people. Last year I was hired to shoot a whole product video for a fitness person. They knew exactly what shots they needed. They handled the edit. The post tools are available for all. Techniques are easy. Tim, my entire freelance career is doing exactly that job. Like I've worked with, I don't know if you guys follow Will Tennyson, but I worked on his channel for like a year and he knew every shot that he wanted to get. And I operated for that channel for like 2 years straight. And that man pulls out like 500,000 views every Tuesday and every Thursday without fail for like 2 years straight. I'm sitting here being like 10,000 views, great video. Like these are things that are the differences. Hey, we got a super chat from Carlos. I need an Uncle Kofi word of the day. I'm trying to Ohondidi. So Ohondidi would mean did you eat, right? So for me, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to do that. Mekwa Didi, which means I'm gonna go and eat. But basically, if you want to know if someone has eaten today, you just say "Woho didi," "Woho didi." But that's your word of the day or phrase of the day. Yeah, I follow these two fashion creators that put out insane type of work. I watch a lot. I used to watch a ton of Devin on Deck, and in my head, I was convinced that I was going to be a fashion lifestyle creator, and then realized that like my bag was talking about freelancing, and also I realized I just cut my face, or at least it's like a scar or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, some of these creators are unreal at what they're doing, and we're sitting here letting the fact that we talk about cameras hinder us from making stuff. I saw an influencer with a slider in the gym. Yeah. Oh, frig, I forgot. I know exactly who you're talking about. And here's the thing. Here's the craziest part. That fitness influencer, if they put a link in bio, and tech creators like us, tech people, we're good at making money from the stuff that we recommend. I'm sure that fitness influencer doesn't know how to speak about that slider in a way that people will fully understand what the slider can do. I bet you though, if they adopted some of those skills, which they'll learn from us, that person's going to convert far more than we ever will. All my non videos have no sponsors, and I pretty much throw money away making them just for low views. The master needs would rather talk about gear or whatever, whether people admit it or not. Yeah, that's like here's the thing. Me and Cam have this conversation on a far more than regular basis. I think where like my approach is that like because I want to have a steady funnel of like things coming in, I'd rather like build the library that's going to be stuff the audience wants to see, and then like I may take a strike at something experimental, either embedded into the video itself or like in some other way. Which is why sometimes you will see like some of those like me trying to be fancy cutscenes doing stuff every now and again. Yeah, you make them for yourself. But like, I don't know, my opinion on things like once it goes to the internet, it's no longer mine. So like if I don't post something, then it's probably something that's truly for myself because I don't want to subject things and my perspective of whether or not I like it based on like views and all the other shit by posting it. And the fact that I made it still, the fact that there are photo sets and like little I've made that I don't post. Um, that feels like that's more for me than it is posting it and kind of just accepting that um, you know, it's not going to get the results that you want. Dev, Ron Doug, Colby Davis, David Perkins that are editing. Yeah, you're right. Like, you're right. It's, again, these are all hilarious things. Like, how are the filmmakers of social media not doing the things that like lifestyle tech creators doing? And here's the thing, by us not doing it and then telling people about how to freelance, we're only ever teaching people how to be employees. Because you know what's happening is like these creators that are doing that, and also there's also a giant financial component as well, right? Like, in order for these creators to make this kind of stuff, they have to be executive producers and like hire people and have shot lists and stuff. They have to do those things, right? Like, that's not necessarily to say that like these people are one man banding it all by themselves with like 600,000 subscribers, and like some of these tech brand deals are in like the 50 to 60, $70,000 range. Right. So they could hire out teams and employ people in order to do that. It just so happens those people they're going to employ are going to be you who taught them the skill in the first place, which is wild to understand. We're going to be fighting over things like camera specs, not ever talking or whatever camera we just have talking create. Doesn't matter if you shoot a Sony, Fuji, just go create. Yeah. And Myron, I also say like some people just have like people like myself, people like Cam, people that like cover camera stuff. We want to create with the thing because we have unique access with the thing. Like, part of our personal brand and like kind of the umbrella of our content is unique access to things before anybody else does. We want to speak to that in ways that are interesting to us. However, if we fail to mention every minutia spec or repeat the last thing that the other person said, it falls in the way of like not being honest or being a shill or the other things. And like, again, these are conversations we have all the time. Where like, when the S1R2 came out, like I kind of didn't want to talk about all the specs because you already saw the Gerald Undone video. However, if I talk about things that I like and I show footage that I like and I go make stuff with it, the first thing that's going to be in there is, well, why didn't you talk about the rolling shutter and the overheating? Like, you must be paid by, like, all that stuff happens, right? So, okay, sure. But those are the type of things where I think this is where I'm saying like this, there's a miss here where if we allowed creators that cover camera stuff to just make the thing, whether it be maybe they make a review video, but the review video is something that is like unique to them. If we allow that to happen without constantly worrying about how do we play morality police for these people, then we'll actually get really good looking stuff. But I feel, and this is me speaking for a lot of creators, is that we feel this unique pressure to have to go over things that we don't care about in order for an audience to think that we're being honest. Even though a lot of these things are things we don't care about. For example, I don't do overheating tests. Not on mirrorless cameras, at least. And if a cinema camera overheats, that's going to be a glaring issue. But mirrorless cameras, I don't care. But it would be shillery or dishonest for me to say I don't care, therefore I'm not going to do it, and also encourage you to just find somebody that does. So like, these are kind of the issues I have with kind of the filmmaker space. So I kind of want to still talk about the stuff that I like, because I really like the Ursa Cine 12K and I really enjoy talking about it. I like taking photos on the Fuji cameras and I like making the thing with it. I want to be able to do that, but also kind of detract from that sort of stuff. So I hate to admit it here, but it's my dream of 8+ people makes videos that have no views. Oh, sorry. I hate to admit this here, but my team of 8+ people makes videos that have no views. I mean, I also will assume they probably make a lot of money though, even if they don't get a lot of views. Because you're in it. Like, you're working. Like, videos not getting views is necessarily indicative of a failing of a business. I think you guys are like, you're still profiting. So I was sent a product that I literally had to tell the company I would not endorse that product. It was a light, but at times you have to be honest with a brand about usefulness in your work. Yeah. But like, and that usually manifests in people just saying no to stuff. Do you know how many Wondershell from Mora emails I've said no to, despite the fact that they pay more than the highest paid sponsor that I have? I'm not going to do it because I wouldn't use it, right? And like those are things where like, I mean, sometimes Tim, you figure out those things like as you're using it, you're like, "Ah, I don't think I'd like this that much, or I don't think it'll be useful, so I'll send it back. Um, and sometimes you got to figure that out by actually like having the thing and realizing it doesn't work. But I'll say like for the like majority of things, especially in the kind of pantheon of creators that are super under fire a lot of the times, they already say no to that stuff anyways, which unfortunately is why they go to like other creators that might not have as big of an audience and they try to do it with them too instead of just kind of making better products. Um yeah, that already happens. People just say no, but again, it's that pressure that like for example, if in 2026 Zcam comes out with a new camera and they send us all on a trip to go and cover this new camera, I know that someone else is going to go through every single spec under the sun. And I'd say, you know what? I'd rather just shoot with the thing. I'd rather just make a short story about the trip using the camera and then just talk about things I liked and didn't like. And that would be the video, right? No mention of how many stops of dynamic range, no mention of what millisecond the overheating is or shutter speed readout or whatever the hell it is. And I want to just make that video just me making the thing. The audience would point out all the things that you didn't mention, and then therefore there'd be a lot of backlash, and there'd be these weird campaigns around how people aren't being honest about camera gear and that we should just be parrots of each other. On the brand side of things, and this has happened quite a bit, where brands have brought on myself, have brought on Cam, have brought on other creators, and they said, well, we don't necessarily need you to talk about the specs. We actually just want you to shoot with the thing. We actually don't care what your thoughts about on the specs because I could go to somebody else for that. We actually want you to go use it because we want to know what your use case is or how it applies to that. That's where you're getting this like weird friction. Is that creators want to do this, brands want to do this. Audience sometimes isn't receptive of the fact that like not every person when a camera comes out is going to say the exact same thing because it's YouTube, not Reddit or a message forum on things that go dead. I've sent back several lenses because I didn't like them and rather not waste my breath talking about them personally. Yeah, truth to tell, I don't get hit up by so many companies that there's a lot of things that I don't like. For example, like the Nisi Aureus lenses, I hunted Nisi to get those damn lenses. The Vespid 2s, I love the Vespid 1s. My Vespids got stolen. I have multiple DZO videos on my channel, so it's not weird if I have DZO lenses on this channel. And then Thighpok being a sister company of them, and I try the lenses out for a couple different things, and I'm like, oh shit, I like these a lot, and they're tiny. So like the companies that I have worked with, I'm like, I don't get hit up by such a big volume that there's a lot of things that I say no to because a lot of things that I get hit up by because they're smaller, I say yes to. Yeah, brands need to sell the product. They don't care if it works well for creators. They just have a bottom line in R&D making said product. Yeah, that's fair too. But it's also up to us to just say like we don't like it or it doesn't work or no. But I'd say for the most part, in terms of like the people and the products that people are really, really upset about, I don't think they're bad. The S1R2 is not bad. The S12 overheating flaws and all, it's not bad. The Pyxis having rolling shutter, it's not bad. Blades are anamorphic lenses that have weird distortions on the edges, which albeit are fixable. It's slightly inconvenient depending on what you're shooting, but it's not objectively bad. I bought my own Remus lenses, and I haven't had issues very much with them when I shoot on them. So like, I think a lot of things can get blown out of proportion there, where I think where the pressure ends up being. And again, this is for me going on 3 Lumix trips. I've gone on 3 Lumix trips. I'm on my 3rd Sony condo. I've done a couple of like local Fuji events when the GFX RF100 came out, and a couple other brand trips. Everybody is kind of in the same boat. We're all trying to do exactly what you're saying, which is just go out and be creative. But with launches, there's this pressure that if you don't say everything that everybody else is saying, that there's some sort of foul play. So then we all just get kind of cornered into making these videos in our offices and trying our best to cover every single spec that's under the sun. And it's really, really tough to do. It's a really tough dichotomy. And what's going on? Two sides of the business. Passion videos don't get traction they used to. Client work keeps lights on, pays the bill. That's the balance of the game right now. That's been the balance of everything, man. And what I like and sometimes hate about YouTube is in pursuit of the passion project, doing the client stuff. Like as a freelancer, I could hide my client projects. Like I could not post every client project I've ever shot on. And I could not post everything that, every project that I've used to pay my bills. Where on YouTube, you see both, right? When I do an Artlist dedicated video, albeit I've used Artlist for like 5 years, I love using all their tools. Maybe I don't necessarily want to make a fully dedicated video on a particular feature, but I still use it every day and I would recommend it. And maybe I'll talk about it in passing about something else, or maybe it's part of a different video entirely, but the structure of the format pays my bills. You get to see that. And whether or not you get to see it, and also not understanding that that's the framework of how that works will weigh in on it negatively, not realizing that like that is the client work sometimes. Like sometimes these like I have a video on a tripod. The Manfrotto 1 might objectively be one of the best hybrid camera tripods I'll ever use. Am I super excited to make a video about a tripod? Not exactly. Do I think it's going to be really useful? Do I think a lot of people find use to it? Do I like it a lot? And is it something that stays in my kit now and I've just kind of gotten rid of another tripod? Yeah, absolutely. But those are things that you have to kind of understand when you're seeing people that are doing YouTube in a more monetizable, closer to full-time capacity, is that you actually quite literally see both. Yeah, so Tim, that's what I mean, right? Like if you're freelancing, stuff like that, you can just hide. You could just throw it, like you would never know. I would never know that's a thing. I would never know it. I would never see it. However, when you're doing sponsored content, because it's the same as client work, realistically, I like the sponsored content more because there's some clients where I don't feel like doing it. Also, the effort to reward is a lot better. The audience gets to see that too, as well as your passion project. So now you have to try to integrate passion stuff into the sponsored stuff because that's why they sponsor you in the first place. So you see the mix of two. So I can't, like, no one's gonna, like, for example, I shoot a lot of stuff with like athletes. I shoot a lot of fitness stuff, whatever the case is. I've done stuff in the healthcare field. And if you had seen me post, and if I had to post one of those videos, and maybe it's not the most flashy video, maybe it's not even good, a commenter's weigh-in would be, well, you only do that because you got paid. And I would say, absolutely, hell yeah, because the health industry pays me a lot of money. That's kind of the same with sponsored content, in a weird roundabout way. Yeah, but a recent film, yeah, but it's the same thing, right? Sometimes passion projects can take off, like Art the Clown, the creator of his character, started on YouTube. Yeah, and I mean, like Issa Rae started on YouTube as well. There's a ton of, you know what's wild is there's ton of creators that were in non-filmmaking niches that are also in very much filmmaking capacities now. But this is all what I mean. Um, Making videos about cameras, making videos about videography, making videos about filmmaking isn't necessarily devoid of being a creative person or having a personality or building a personal brand. And I think for a long time, a lot of us have caused so much commotion around trying to divorce the two things that there's now an underlying pressure that we all have kind of just fed into to essentially be a robot around topics like this at the cost of people creating hit pieces on you. Outside of freelancing, does your personal brand make money outside of YouTube sponsorship? Maybe too personal question to ask. Yeah, it does. I make money from paid events. I make money from workshops, particularly with Sony Canada. I have digital products that make a little bit of money as well. I'd say sponsorships is a lion's share of certain things. And what I'm going to try to do is vary that up a little bit. When I rented out my gear, and like usually, like sometimes if you get like, say you get a set of lenses that you get to keep, and they're lenses that are like production viable, and you rent those out, like those could make some money as well. But outside of like YouTube sponsor stuff, there's like AdSense that makes a bit, affiliates make a little bit, like it's all like little bits every here and there. Those are all things that you can make money from. And that, again, this is something where I want to make content about, because I think the misconception is that everyone on YouTube just does sponsorships. There's so many other ways to make money. And I think one of the thing I want to get into after the Pyxis 12K comes out is camera guides. And also kind of making travel a priority next year. I want to get into prints. So yeah, you like the thing with creative entrepreneurship in the way of like video and photo is that literally any extension of your skill set can make money. Therefore, if you put it under the umbrella of your personal brand, you can make it make sense. Hey, what's going on? Not what's going on. I was going to say that to Jarrell, but we got a super chat from the Udo Pantograph, which I think isn't your name. You have a different name on Instagram, and I know that. And I'm not going to put out your government. Thanks for always sharing knowledge. Hey, respects. Again, this might be knowledge. This might also just me be yapping. Like I could be totally wrong about this whole like personal brand lifestyle filmmaker thing. Like I could totally be wrong. I don't think I am. And also, in terms of people who have like personal brands as people that work in video and photography, there's not a lot of people that show that. Like you could still have a personal brand, and like also part of your personal brand could be what tech you do talk about and what tech you don't talk about. For example, I've had an Osmo Pocket 3 for like a year and a half, and I sold it 3 days ago because I use the Action 5 way more. But also I've never made an Action 5 video before. And again, though, there's certain choices that you can make underneath the personal branding part that I think is more palatable for a wider audience, and also getting more jobs, to be honest with you, if you think about it. There's ways you could do it. Even though the medical field pays more, the more creative, low-budget fitness work always appeals to every company and brands, but there's pride in the final product too. Yeah, 100%. And I think also making those type of projects, what you take on in terms of like, and this is what I mean about leverage. So this is what I was talking about, Mario, and I think we've had this conversation about this before. Fitness work doesn't pay well. It doesn't. Like you can get a lot of money in the fitness world by doing a lot of volume of stuff or working with brands that could pay you on retainer. But like just as like a production style of filmmaking and stuff, it's not the most lucrative one in the world. But if you are running a personal brand, you can leverage some of the spoils from your personal brand in order to work on the fitness projects. For example, if I had this channel now and I was still working with like Will and Mike O'Hearn and all the other and everybody else, my LUT packs would be based on shoots with these gigantic fitness influencers. Like when I would build a LUT pack, you would see like in the slideshow of all the LUTs and stuff like that, there'd be like one LUT pack with like Ashton Hall. There'd be like one with C-Bum. And then you'd see like one with Will in it. Then like one with Greg Doucette in it. Then one with Mike O'Hearn in it. And I'd be able to speak to that with some sort of authority about making like this personal branding digital product because I've worked with all of those people before. Knowing what I know now, I should have done that. Like that should have been a thing that I did. I just didn't understand that. And that could be part of that like personal brand where the products you do, then that way, sorry, I'm all over the place. But that way, when you do take on those low budget fitness projects, now I'm double leveraging that to create assets to build the personal brand, because that may foray. I'll even tell you a story about this too. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. I got scatterbrain. But what I'm trying to say, when I'm trying to go into a real leverage thing, because I'm getting passionate about this now, is I worked for Gymshark for about a year. And I was flying back and forth from Toronto to LA in like 2022. And at the time, I had like posted 1 or 2 YouTube videos, not much. But what I did do is, because the Gymshark thing, it paid well, but didn't pay that much for what we had to do. I asked if I could shoot BTS. And what I would do with that BTS content is I would make other content to enhance my own personal brand. So one of my early videos was talking about the FX6, but I talked about a commercial we worked on with Steve Cook. That kind of hits both things. It enhances my personal brand because now I'm making content around the camera that gives me credence as a real filmmaker working on a job with a big brand. But at the same time, if I had a larger audience when that happened, it would have been easier for me to parlay that into a brand deal where I could have paid myself a little bit more to actually enhance that production, to give myself more credibility with the brand and also on my own personal social media. These are the things I'm talking about with like leverage and stuff like that. but also sound off if that made any sense, because that's kind of what I'm getting into to Mario's point. Off topic of digital film, love the lens, excited for the Vespa 2 for the eye technology. There's a Cine 12K. They keep putting out good lenses at affordable prices. I literally have to drive across the city to get to Luke's house to pick them up tomorrow. So I'll let you know when I get them. Drell is in the building, but I'm sure he left after hearing me talk about leveraging a personal brand in order to mitigate some of the things that are happening in the freelance world with budgets getting slashed left, right, and center. Gonna check you out after the live. Yeah, Tim's great. Tim's actually awesome. I think he posted a short recently. Kofi, how are you liking the S1 too? I keep it in my bag all the time, so I like it a lot. Every camera I like a lot. Like I don't know if there's many cameras I don't like. Sony FX2. There's not many cameras I don't like. So if someone asks me how things are, understand that most of them, the answer is yes. I think they're all good, and I like them all a lot. It's a great short. You go and look at that. I watched it a couple. I think Tim put that a couple days ago. I'm just playing. But Jarrell is somebody who also freelances. Does what I said make sense? And I think that's where I think my live stream is me just using this as a sounding board to be like, hey, did that make sense what I said about like talking about personal branding as somebody who's like a photographer, video, that all stuff? Does that make sense? And like, is that something that people want to know more about? Because I think that's a way to kind of navigate this whole budgets flying out of the woodwork. Hey man, was there a mentor, person, or brand that gave you advice and helped you or had an impact was really meaningful or personally watching YouTube career? Oh, like so yeah, there's a couple people that I'm gonna shout out here, and I'm sure Jason Morris is still here. Before I started YouTube, I got yelled at literally by 3 separate people. One was Jason Morris when I was posting stuff on Instagram, and like me and Jason both work in the fitness space, and I think I had like 1,500 subscribers, and then Jason brought me onto his podcast. And we just talked about like similar things we're talking about now, right? And we talked about a little bit of like family life and like kind of where I see creators and stuff like that. And that was one of the people that was like, hey, like you should really kind of go full send with the whole YouTube thing. And I never thought anything of it, but you know, here we are now. Another person, and I live super close to him, is like Mark Bone is down the street from me. And he made an iPhone video a little while ago, and he kind of talked me into doing YouTube again. And he actually like, at a certain point when I had a couple videos out, and it's still on the channel now, where he like kind of roasts the channel and gives me insight on like kind of what to do. And there's some other stuff that's off camera that he kind of told me about in terms of like how to run YouTube. And that was another person that like kind of gave me some things that were valuable coming up. I think the biggest one though was actually YC Imaging. And this is like, the channel didn't even have a name. And I remember talking to him on the phone for like 3 hours. And he basically just explained to me how the shit works, and then that's how it went. And if some people are asking, like, how did you get in contact with these people? I think it was just like a weird circumstance that kind of just happened. And that circumstance in and of itself was like incredibly lucky. And then in terms of like when things started to really take off is when I met like Armando and Cam and Terry and stuff at like NAB, which I didn't know NAB existed. And it was like an invite from a Twitter DM. And those are like the 4-5-ish kind of people that like helped out in a significant way. And all of those meetings were just like random happenstance or like a stray DM because I commented on a post that one time when I was making content. I did work on personal branding. I have a whole company and I do full time and but never post anything. Yeah. And also like, it's so hard to figure out as somebody who's worked so long for other people to figure out even how to communicate that. And that's where like, that's kind of like my hard part is like trying to figure out how to do that. And like, there's so many, I almost want more people to do this because there's so many different ways of doing it that I don't know how to do it. Like on one end, I was making like a content deck for a future YouTube video, and it was about shooting interviews where like the video on YouTube was going to be like how to shoot a cinematic interview, whatever the case was. The LinkedIn post was going to be me talking about my experience shooting interviews for clients as a way to bring in new clients. but then showing them like a 3-minute video version of the YouTube video. But then I was going to try to also repurpose that for like Facebook and then make a 5-minute video of just the interview itself. And then go on Instagram and do the whole like carousel post where I show you like the shot at the top and the lighting breakdown at the bottom and the shot at the top and then the lens breakdown at the bottom. And then that becomes a carousel where you could like swipe through all the frames and say like, oh, wow, look how good Kofi is as a DP, like that kind of stuff. And then like the short form vertical content would be like me walking around the interview with the phone on Instagram. But then on YouTube Shorts, it would be me telling you like 3 tips that you want to keep in mind with shooting interviews, and then link the interview into the video, or link that content into the video. And like those are things that I mean about like personal branding, is like trying to have the similar message for multiple platforms, but then also figuring out like which one's the best use of your time. And then also the making of how to make cinematic interviews, like that's not personal. That has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with the work that I do. And I think as like creative freelancers, we associate personal branding with the work that we do and not who we are as people and what our value systems are. So that's why, and it's super weird, we're like, the Uncle Kofi thing is straight up because I just made up a random character mid-video because I like getting advice from my African uncles. Like that's what happened, and that becomes a part of the personal brand, where I got called Uncle Kofi on the street today for the first time by a stranger, because like just I was walking beside some dude and he's like, oh, you're Uncle Kofi. And I'm like, that's not even the channel name. But there's certain parts of personal branding and association that is the personal part is what we take away from the business. And I think it's because we're afraid of intermixing them. Oh, thank you. Okay, so that makes sense. I also post a lot more on Vimeo than YouTube. That's fair. All good channels and guys, follow all of them. Yeah, except for that Cam guy, he's a degenerate. No, I'm just kidding. Trying to quit my day job and go full-time with this stuff. It's a bit of a battle as to whether to go hard on client work or YouTube, or try to do both. Remy, this is what I can give you the so what you can do, and this is something where the document don't create part comes into it. And this is where I think I'm going to try to take some of the aspects of the channel where like, I'm just going to document me trying to figure out this personal branding thing and not be a personal branding expert. Cause I'm not, I don't know. Right. These are things I'm thinking about and I haven't done. But what you can do is the content you make on YouTube can be about the transition between you quitting your day job and doing more freelance work. And then everything that's inside of that confine becomes content you share on YouTube. And again, and you could build out the personal brand from that, right? Like, what are things that are what are things that Remy values, right? Like, what are projects you want to work on? What are projects you don't want to work on? What are the camera gear that you use? What is your unique shooting style like? How do you go about how to do a shoot, right? What are movies that you're watching and stuff? Like, those are things that you can kind of address in your content. And I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to sprinkle a little bit of that into some of the videos that already exist without kind of denaturing what people came for anyways. Because at the end of the day, like, you're in service of the audience. And for the most part in our space, most people like 3 things: people, places, and things. With camera gear, it satisfies things. If there's some sort of drama going on in the camera space, which I'm going to say is the most ungangster loser thing that's happened this year, then it's going to be people, and people are going to get drawn to hearing content about people or places. If you're working on a set that's unique, if you got a behind the scenes look at something that maybe other people don't get access to, well, then that's also going to interest folks that are going to be in the space. Like, it's only the 3 of those, right? So keeping that in mind with what you're doing in terms of relation to where your current journey is might actually be a way that you could build that personal brand, which I also hope makes sense. Again, I'm just yapping. I'm literally just talking. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's late. It's like 10:30. Kofi, you're in an elevator. What's your quick advice for starting a camera gear YouTube channel? Also, you're in a party and somebody asks you, what do you say when someone asks you what you do for a living? Okay, so let's answer the first one. If I'm in an elevator and somebody asks me what I do to make a camera gear YouTube channel, I would say make the channel, treat it like a show. Treat it like a show. Treat it like a show. And whatever makes you unique, double down on that while still talking about the camera gear. So, for example, if a new camera comes out, I've readily identified that I work with athletes and fitness stuff. If a new camera comes out and you see me shooting stuff in a CrossFit gym or shooting stuff like at a whatever High Rocks event, understand that's part of my personal brand. And that's what you're going to come to expect when you see my videos, or a photo set with like an athleisure brand or something like that. So, yeah, double down on what makes you you, and then the camera just becomes the thing that goes into the container. Your personal brand is a container. The camera gear is just the stuff you put in it. Yeah, switch to L-mount. Currently just got the Lumix, planning on getting the Pyxis 12K. Yep. I have some idea of when one is going to show up at my house. I'm going to have a lot of fun, but I'm also going to have fun with the Ursa, so there's that too. But yeah, I think they're both going to be great. My app videos on TikTok perform better than any of my camera breakdowns. There's a transition we are all looking for, where we are not camera people. Instead, we are people that also enjoy cameras. I wish I could pin a comment, because Mario, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm not a camera channel. I'm a person that likes cameras. For example, when that iPhone come out, you're gonna see me talk about that damn iPhone. I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that iPhone. That new iPad. I'm gonna talk about that iPad. When I go to Ghana and I start gallivanting, I'm going to be gallivanting. I'm going to be having much fun, very much fun. That was not Ghanaian. That was more Nigerian. But you know exactly what I mean. When you see me outside, I'll be outside. I may be outside my Fuji X100VI, but I'll be outside nonetheless. So that's, you know what? In fact, I would say, and I would argue, that's going to be, camera YouTube's not dead. It's going to be exactly that. You're just going to see people that you like that just so happen to like cameras. Because if Marquez Brownlee can make an RX1 R3 video and it do better than people that are in the camera space making RX1 R3 videos, it stands to reason that could work upstream going the other way. Don't know. Again, okay. I wish I could like pin a thing in chats. I can't answer that question without any context. In fact, I'll go a step further. I refuse to answer those questions without any context, because I don't, under what confines would one pick one or the other? What's the criterion that is necessary for you to make that decision? I can't make that decision for you, nor do I have any opinion on that decision, because I don't have either camera. I've used both. I don't have either one. And they both serve the similar purposes, so I can't really say one or the other. But if there's a little bit more information, we could have a conversation there about it. $5,000 is why. Well, no, if you have $5,000, you don't have to buy either one of the two cameras. Yeah, I don't. Having $5,000 doesn't mean you have to buy the 100 RF or the Q2. You could buy neither. To be fair, I made a video about the Pyxis regular versus the FX3, which was an 18-minute way of me saying exactly what I said. But I know you're kidding, so it's fine. Wow, I just brain farted. Damn. Okay, so any final questions that aren't which camera I should buy with that information? I'm willing to ask, or anything about the like personal branding stuff, because I actually am really interested. And once I get into a rabbit hole, especially of like about things like with like entrepreneurship and business, I will dive so friggin' deep, it's insane. And then I will start learning things ad nauseum, which pisses people off. And my girlfriend gets mad because I don't pay attention to her when I'm watching stuff. But I guess if there's any questions about like the whole personal branding, like as a filmmaker, or personal branding, like as a photographer, or like just in general, because I literally am learning this as you guys are. Because I think the way that we've been doing it for a long time maybe isn't the best way of doing it, because I think our personal brand has always, like as like filmmakers and photographers and videographers, has always been not that personal, because we've detached ourselves from the work. so much, which is kind of like a safe thing because if like work doesn't go well, then there's always a place you could hide. Which I guess kind of isn't necessarily a personal brand to begin with, but let me know. Also, I'm sorry if I talk fast. It just happens. I don't really know what else to say, but I'll give a couple minutes to ask certain questions and stuff like that. And if there isn't any, then I'm just gonna, I don't know, like watch anime and go to bed. I don't know. I I don't have the Q2 monochrome. But I don't know anybody that has a Q2 monochrome. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's great, but also like you can edit photos in black and white, right? Like I'm not ignorant saying that. I'm just okay. Maybe you know what? I'm at my depth in this one. I'm sure it's a great camera. The Q2 is great. Um, I don't like or not like it because I've never had one. I've used the regular Q2, and that's a great camera. Watch Alien Earth and go to bed. Yeah, okay. Honestly, Tim, I might actually do that. You're not wrong. I'm always reluctant to show my personal side, but I know it's a business and I should really focus on that. Charles, here's the thing with personal branding, and I think Carlos Sigliano said this a little while ago. It just gives people that are going to work with you an idea of what it's like to work with you, right? And I think sometimes we'll hide so much behind the highlights of our work, but also like I think the big thing that I want with this experiment with like the personal branding and filmmaking stuff is I want people to think outside of the confines of your business is more than the thing you freelance on. There's other skill sets that you have outside of being able to be somebody else's temporary employee. And we should be able to explore that just as much as the people that we work for. That's what I'm getting at. But yeah, 100%. It's a tough gig too. Like it's hard to be open to stuff like that with that. Yeah, Quentin, we all wish that, man. Sony is though, like I think Sony's design language very much speaks to trying to make big cameras smaller, and sometimes in the process of making big cameras smaller, also the resolution has to get smaller in order to make sure that the camera still runs properly, which for a long time worked really, really well until other cameras had higher resolutions, weren't that much bigger, and they were coming out faster, right? Like we didn't have like a Nikon Z8, like when the A7S3 came out, we didn't have it. Or like the S1 series just all dropped at the same time. So a lot of those things, like as much as Sony should do it, we all wish it happened, and it's also just a response that everyone has a 6K camera now. Yeah, like all the mirrorless cameras are 6K, but Sony. Damn, all the mirrorless cameras out right now are 6K, but Sony, except for like the A12, but nobody cares about that. Damn. What a time to be alive. I've been going through the brand change because I switched from tech to camera and gear niche. My journey is going to be tough uncoupling from tech, but I really enjoy YouTube again. Chris, I have a question for you because I almost considered going the other way around, going from camera gear to tech, but also putting the camera stuff in there, and mostly going from camera gear to tech because bought every camera I want already. Why did you make that? Actually, no, fuck it. My girlfriend's not even here. She's in Montreal or some shit. I could stay up late. Yeah, does she dictate my bedtime? Absolutely. Why did you make that choice? I'm gonna stay on longer now. You know what? Fuck it. I was gonna make dinner. I'm gonna order no, I won't order myself food. I won't order myself food, but I want to know this one. Cayman or KM? Mr. Davis, I want you to put the pronunciation in the chat so I don't butcher this because I hate when people say my name wrong. Pretty sure your answers your video on the GFX50R with the other YouTube photographers was outstanding. Thank you. I appreciate that. KM. KYM. Do it again. But yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, in terms of like camera conversation and like what to buy or what not to buy, the toughest part is that I don't have any other information, so it's hard for me to say like yes or no or one or the other. It makes things very difficult, and I don't mean to pick on you. Sometimes I'm sarcastic. Um, Sometimes on this channel, like I wish I put that as a precursor on the channel because like I don't know how to answer those comfortably, so I don't. Oh, Kiem. Okay, so Kiem. Okay, perfect. I got that. Okay, that was the. Here's my issue with my personal brand. I don't want to talk about myself anymore. I just want to be behind the scenes and work on the clients. This is fair. Edmund, I'll give you a challenge then. Double down on faceless BTS. If you don't want to talk about yourself, you don't talk about yourself as a person, but you could talk about things that you value in how you approach clients. It doesn't have to be your personal brand. Like by personal brand, I don't mean that like every relationship problem that I have, I'm going to put on my YouTube channel, but I do mean that there's parts of my value system that coincide with how I make the content I'm passionate about and how I go about those things. Hang on a second. If you're going to make a comment like that, I need you to phonetically spell your name. Okay, cool. I could do that. Like, do you want me to... Draw. There. Put it in the chat for you. Kofiyeboah. That's how you would say it with an accent. Instead of going, yeah, it sounds like you're a Pokemon, but like the shitty ones. Remember like when the first time we saw Don Fan in the first Pokemon movie, if you know, you know? Like that's what some people when they say my name sound like. For me, best food to make when coming home after a long day of work is Sofer's lasagna, ready in 7 minutes, satisfying when no energy to cook. To be fair, Tim, I did meal prep things for tomorrow. They're meal prepped for tomorrow. I just didn't make the food for today. I should just eat one of those. Tech became so repetitive with no creativity. It's all specs at my scale, becomes personality later, but I wasn't passionate enough about sharing stuff to get there. I just wanted to play with it. Okay, so hear me out, Chris, because I'm super curious. I'm actually really curious about getting into the tech niche and just applying some of the filmmaking stuff there and then using the money from the tech niche because I know it's lucrative to build my own projects and kind of play both sides. What if adapting the filmmaking capacity stuff to tech videos? That was just, it's a thought. And the reason why it's a thought is because I talked about this with other people and they're like, well, people don't care. They want to see like, they want to see the specs or whatever. And I'm like, well, what if I shoot the specs in like a cinematic way? Again, I don't know. I'm just asking and I don't know if anyone's done it. So who will make a camera first, Nigeria or Ghana? Well, it depends how many Chinese factories are in each country. Sorry, that got dark, but it's very real. Whichever one has the most low-key occupation of the other's country is probably going to make the camera first. Sony may be taking the ARRI approach and perfecting their 4K image. There's information that I learned about Bayer sensors that may speak to the opposite of that. But yeah, maybe. Like, it might be. The easiest way to do that is to, like, so ironically enough, Blackmagic has actually made a more complete 4K sensor with the 12K sensor, which I learned today on ChatGPT 5. See, you can learn anything with the power of AI. Bless her for being amazing with you. Hey, Prince, respects, man. We need to do another collab. I got this big fancy camera in my house, and I see you be doing these photo shoots in my city, on my turf, not telling me when you're doing them. And I want to shoot video portraits while you shoot portraits. And I want to do that. And I do think that there needs to be a peace treaty between Ghanaians and Nigerians. So yeah, let's do that. Bro, camera using to stream. I'm using the Lumix S12E. Does this image look actually good? Because like it's on standard profile, like it's not a log or anything. Because I don't know how to put the log through the USB-C. And I thought it looked like meh, but I'll take it. I'm making a screenshot and we'll try my best next Friday. Yeah, get Brandon up to speed too. Hey, we got a super chat from admin. That was a brilliant answer. Thank you. Maybe that's the content I'm gonna make. Maybe it will be about personal branding as like a creative entrepreneur, particularly in the video and the photo space. Like maybe that's a thing, because maybe that's a thing. Maybe we have something there. I can understand what Christopher. While most of my videography photo work is outside of YouTube, I wish to head more into tech. Tech seems interesting. You know what it is? Tech is really interesting, but I don't know how to speak tech creators' language. Like I wouldn't know how to like accurately dissect like an iPad in a way that like the audience feels like they got value out of it, but then also inject my own like cinematography in it, which when talking to Terry about it, he's like, well, then it kind of doesn't matter if you go through every single spec, if you just go with whatever's important to you. And maybe that's like the best way to approach it, is that you don't know how to speak the language. Elite Media, I just got the FX6. I have everything hooked up correctly, but I still can't get power to my Phantom Sony mic. What am I doing wrong? Like it's brand new. I think you might have to check there's one of the, I don't remember what setting it is. I haven't had the FX6 in a while, but I think there's a setting where I think you could turn on and off that hot shoe or whatever you put the microphone into. Double check that that's on and that it's delivering 40 plus 48 volt power to it. Oh, not trying to bug. Oh. Moon Eye, answer the question. It's the S12E. Concept. There you go. Did we say no? Ghanaians versus Nigerian geopolitics. Don't kill me. Stop making us fight all the time. You see? We don't need a fight. We need to come together. Wakanda forever. No, I'm just kidding. Or maybe. What camera are you streaming with? This is the S12E. Hey, calm down. Calm down. You just asked a question like 4 minutes ago. Calm down. I answered it. Calm down. Behave yourself. If the question does not get answered, you have to be patient and wait. Huh. People impatient cry. RGBW sensor for the win. Yeah, I did a lot of I basically tried to get GPT-5 to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, and it made way more sense. And now I designed an entire scene cutting up raspberries, kiwis, and blueberries to try to explain how Bayer sensors work. And it's flawless. It's brilliant. It's hilarious. But yeah, the RGBW sensor is really cool. And when you learn about sensor tech a little bit, it kind of it makes you realize what some of this camera jargon is when you understand it. My favorite video ever created was a cinematic video around the Rogue Rally when it came out, and crickets, but it's my favorite. Okay. This is where I'm thinking this may help though. Okay. Was it close to the release date of that product? Because what I'm thinking of is that because tech operates very similarly to camera gear, where like your first 30 days of when a new thing comes out, people are striving to find content and stuff like that. And I'm thinking of maybe doing like the cinematic stuff around like when a new release comes out, because if the risk of low views is going to be like a little bit elevated, then at least I've like covered the launch day stuff and been creative with that. Again, these are just thoughts. Like I wish I could bounce this off of other people and see what happened or see what it is. But I look at Siobhan and how he turned out techno lifestyle, and that's cinematic. I think you could take your audience onto tech outings with big launches and do well. I mean, to be fair, Siobhan also lives technically down the street. Like he's like 20 minutes. He's in Toronto. He's like maybe like 25 minutes away. Never talked to him before in my life. I'm far older than he is, but That's kind of what I mean. Like Siobhan's content, but I inject the things I know about cinematography in that content. And that's where I'm kind of thinking. Why not both, Kofi? Second channel. I think because I have disagreements around second channels when, in my personal opinion, camera gear channels are just tech channels with extra steps. Like, cameras are still technology for the most part. And if you could make a camera gear video, then you could make an iPhone video in theory. It just has to apply to a person that does video or photo or whatever. I don't think they need to be divorced from each other. Unless the tech we're talking about is so far removed from cameras, I don't think if you're talking about things like Whoop, because that could coincide with creators and being able to track their health. iPads, which is something that creative people will have. Even when I tried photography, before the first Fuji GFX video, I had not talked about photography almost at all. And it did super well on a channel where most of my content was talking about the Blackmagic Pyxis and the Sony FX line. So it's not that there's no interest in it from me to hear about it. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, well, where does that stop? Is it only just cameras, or can I talk about other piece of technology as it coincides to some of those things? Which is why I don't know if I want a second channel. And also, my name isn't necessarily, my channel name isn't necessarily Kofiyeboah's channel or Kofiyeboah's camera channel. It's my first and last name, which means it can technically pivot to anything. But I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know about second channel. What do you guys think about second channels? I don't know if I want to do a second one. But I'm curious what you guys think. Can't decide between the A6700 FX30. What would you get? I made a video entirely about that. I would look at that, and then you could decide. But decide based on your use case, not just every time I say that we shouldn't have a this camera or that camera comment, and I won't be able to answer it without information, another one comes up. Again, Edie, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying that that just happened. It just happened. We just did that, and it was funny. Instead of specs, maybe instead discuss how it makes your life easier. See, this is where I'm thinking about. This is where I'm thinking about instead, because I don't know how to be a tech influencer necessarily, but I know how to shoot video really well. Maybe the ignorance is bliss, and that becomes the competitive edge. But then also, I don't know if it needs a second. I know people are saying second channel. I don't know if it needs a second channel. I don't know. Because think about it this way. A new MacBook comes out. Is everybody in this chat not interested in the new MacBook or new iPad or new iPhone? Because I could do a MacBook review in terms of how it handles different types of footage from all the cameras that I have. And that's my review of the video, or that's my review of the laptop. Or I could do a video on how to use the new iOS to edit photos and video. And those aren't reviews. It's just use case scenarios using the latest technology, which also will help out because I'm not going to get them first. So again, I'm just riffing with you guys because I'm in a rabbit hole now, and I no one's home to tell me that I should shut up and go to bed. You calm down. Hey, God, my multiversal variant. If you guys ever see Kyle is basically what would happen if me and Cam became the same person. If me and Cam did a fusion dance, it would be Kyle. Aloria, what's going on? My PC rig is fully built and running great. Let's go. I have not ventured in the PC build world. In defense of shooting 12K, treat it like film. Only roll on what you need. That keeps the file sizes down. VistaVision film 2,000 foot. It's 11 minutes and 6 seconds. And $1,600 to buy. So 12K treated well. Small files. You're right. I usually shoot 8K though. I shoot 8K 5:1 most of the time. Hear me out. Tech channel, the Kofi shop. There's so many ideas. It's time for me to go to bed, I think I usually go to bed around now, but now I'm in this rabbit hole of figuring this out. Camera nerds are also tech nerds. Yeah, they're also anime nerds. They're also, some of them are very fitness enthused. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, and this is what I'm talking about in terms of like YouTube is a like, because social media is becoming interest media, creators are personal brands that are contingent on like a set of values that they have, and then the things you put in it is going to be things that are going to be tailored to that person's personal brand and their values, and it almost doesn't matter what you put in it in a little bit of a way. I mean, the transition period is going to be longer depending on like how far you swing between topics. But like if I'm like, for example, like people that do dating content or whatever also do like political content, which is weird because they shouldn't be related at all, but both of them do well when they're timed right, and the personal branding value system is still inputted into what the topic is. Again, I really wish I really wish I knew how to explain this in a way that makes sense. Bro, you can move into it organically. Do the iPhone 17 video camera review, how you'd use the iPad to go about planning shoots, a Sony M&C app. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like the iPhone 17, because I buy new iPhones every year because business expenses. I was thinking about, instead of like going over all the specs of the iPhone 17, just as a video camera, and like not even as like this is going to be like, I'm not going to do the whole my iPhone versus the Ursa Cine 12K, because those videos are played out. The Ursa Cine 12K is an objectively better camera in every single way, and I could say that comfortably. But the idea of how do I use my phone as a video production tool? That way it's not contingent on me being first. It's just contingent on me having a unique thing to say. And also, like the iPad, my iPad's right here. Like I literally have this thing and I use it for majority of the things that are on this channel, and also my freelance work. So I think going about that way still feels more organic, and maybe only keeping it that way until only keeping it that way until maybe one day you do get free access to certain things, and then you could be that top line review that does things on embargo day, just like the camera stuff. There we go. Thank you, Chris. Not sure if someone mentioned, but one guy called Umarnak seems to be sitting his stuff around tech, sometimes a little bit overboard, but he shows what the tech can do versus typical camera would. Huh, fair enough. I'll take a look at that. Don't do a second channel. I just like the name. Hey, you know what? Maybe the Ko-fi shop becomes like a segment of a video. Like, not like some things that may be encouraged to make second channels about, maybe are just things that are segments in a show. Dude, you want to keep it on one channel? If I'm not interested, I'll catch the next one. Yeah, Paul, like again, that's going to be the thing too, right? Like these things are going to bring in different audiences. I'm sure people that really wanted an FX3 video isn't watching my Fuji GFX content, but people that watched that GFX content, they pulled up, right? So it's different. It's different every time. Use tech on the daily. What's your EDC bag when you travel? What charges do you take with you? Phone gear? What your wallet? Do you keep it in a These are like, Chris is actually giving a lot of insight right now that I'm really interested on, and I want to kind of spend a bit more time on. Because if you think about it, if you look like big picture, Peter McKinnon did all of this stuff, right? Like, I think at one point he did a little bit of iPhone content, but like how many EDC videos did he do for a while where he had an uncomfortable amount of knives for someone who's Canadian? And those did well because because it wasn't necessarily Pete, the camera creator. He was Peter McKinnon, who was a person, right? And a person that has a set of values and a set of things that he does aesthetically that kind of made the EDC stuff make sense. Which also, I think some people don't do this, and I think this is a thing that I might have to overcome, is that when you have a personal brand, you have to touch grass. You have to go outside and experience life. You can't just make personal branded content in your office, because personality is a reflection of the things you live and you do. If all you do is make content, then obviously there's not a lot of personality to make a brand off of. If all you do is freelance, then there isn't a lot of personality to create a brand off of. So there's things in there. Yeah, tech and camera on one channel, marketing geopolitics joking on the other channel. Yeah, you will never hear me make a geopolitics comment or anything like that, because can't be bothered. But yeah, I think camera and tech, video production and all that other stuff, like I think that has a unique space here. And maybe like I want to talk more about like some of the filmmaking techniques and stuff, but also like I feel like it's been done like a lot. I'm trying this tutorial thing. I'm gonna give the tutorial bit like one more shot, but I think it's done. Yeah, I think it's done. I think everything that's needed to be said has been said, and then everything that you guys have learned already, like people that are better than me are using it. So there's no point in me reteaching it again. I'm overlisted in the convo because I'm trying to figure this out too. Tyler Solomon talks about both, just to say talks about everything. There has to be a way. See, this is what I mean. And I'm sure Tyler and Justin, and Justin, like Justin say, he lives in Toronto. Like Justin's one of my homies. Accessorize Me is Justin. I think that's who you're talking about. But like, there has to be some sort of middle ground where being a camera filmmaking channel isn't it. Also, like from a views perspective, like in terms of the amount of work being put in and the amount of like response you get back, it's dog crap in comparison. So again, I'm just trying to figure it out. To be fair, Apple silicone chips are really good for editing and filmmaking. Absolutely. I still use my M1 Max and I only have to upgrade it now because that Ursa Cine 12K, when I'm shooting like 8K 3:1 compression, it chugs. I can do more tailored upgrades whenever I want to pick. You know what, Alorio, you're just bragging now about your PC, and I get it. PCs are great. I just don't have one. Started with gaming, then moved to tech, particularly streaming PC tech, which is how I got into cameras, and then slowly shifted content to that. Yeah, see, Remy, like there's ways. There's ways that we could have technological conversations while at the same time being useful to people that are like freelance videographers and want to learn how to do this. I just don't know if the two topics need to be divorced. I don't know. And I'm trying to figure out a way that you can do it. But then also like all of the like behind the scenes filmmaking stuff, like how many, like, again, there's 40 of you. Damn. How many of you guys have, if you guys do make content in this space, make the camera video, 40,000 views. Make the behind the scenes of you using the camera and teaching people how to do it as well, 2,000 views. Like, just to prove a point, for like 6 weeks straight, I did a lighting breakdown every single week. And I've done other longer lighting breakdowns on certain things. 1,500 views, 2,000 views. One got 4,000, which was great. But like, generally speaking, the views aren't awesome. I posted one video about why I bought the Ursa Cine 12K. Not the 48-hour film that we shot on in the same time. Just I bought it and all the reasons why I bought it. Close to 10,000 views. In like just as much, in less time. So I don't know if teaching people how to go about filmmaking techniques like shooting in handheld and how to shoot interviews and stuff, I don't know if that needs to be the content anymore. I also don't know if filmmakers need to be taught how to be filmmakers anymore. I think we just need to do stuff. And doing stuff could also be a passenger inside the vehicle of making tech videos. Like, yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think. I don't know if I'm crazy. When Apple buys RE, it'll blend anyways. That's kind of fair. Exactly what Paul said. What did Paul say? Oh, okay. Paul said about like, you'll just catch another video. That's fair. Apple TV accepts 12K Q3. I will never. Okay, so I don't know when I'll use 12K natively on my Ursa Cine. Tim, I know you probably do. I haven't found a reason where like I've been sitting in front of my camera and I'm like, yeah, let's go to 12K. I've been like, yeah, that's there. I don't know if I want to get all that information off my card, but that's there. Or you agree personally, build PCs and switched all the way. What I learned tech is similar to your lighting tutorials. Those are evergreen and start slow. It's like, well, okay, that's a sign I should be going to sleep soon. It's like my audio interface video, start slow, and every time someone needs something to watch. Yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I think the tutorial season, like the tutorial stuff, I'm going to put really hardcore limits in terms of like how deep and how much time I'm going to spend on doing them. For example, the 4 videos I have coming out is like explaining 12K and whether or not you need it. And that's just because like the Pyxis is coming out and the Outsourcing 12K is already there. The other one is how to shoot handheld and heavy camera rigs, and it's just how to shoot handheld video, just augmented for the Outsourcing 12K. Another one is how to make more money with your interview shooting, and then I did another one on I gotta go to my own Millinote and figure it out. Put videos in Millinote. How to choose the right focal length is the 4th one. I think those videos I'm just gonna not dedicate more than a half day for each one. So I think the idea here is the evergreen tutorial stuff. I'm just not gonna make super highly produced stuff because it's evergreen. Like the information is more valuable than the production quality. And I'll spend some time doing that. And those will always be like worst case scenario. Like there's always a video a week that you can get and you can learn from. Even the lighting breakdown stuff. Like I have a couple projects I'm shooting in the next couple weeks. Those are going to be very like, I can't spend more than 3 hours making these videos. And then those just become content that's going to come out on a regular basis. And then spend a little bit more time on the stuff that are going to bring in new audience members, like when new cameras get released. Yeah, I got to look into, you know what? I might actually, a couple of the homies want me to get a PS5. So I might be looking into that. But I let a really big yawn. Thank you everyone who actually helped out with the stuff. I'm actually going to go to bed now. Like I usually go to bed by this time and fall asleep by midnight, but I'm going to stop doing that. But we started off with the Fuji X100VI and we talked about personal branding for like 2 hours and 36 minutes. That's how long I've been here. No, I'm going to bed, guys. All right. Special shout out to everyone that super chatted. Sam, Jason, Carlos, Udo, whose name I'm not going to put your government, but I know what it actually is, and Edmund for the super chats. Don't forget, if you guys do want to check out the channel memberships, or better yet, if you guys have feedbacks on this channel membership thing, I'd love to start making that. But also, when this guy comes out of the replay, I'm going to put the link for, actually, no, I can do it right now. Hang on, before I leave, and I'm going to leave this up for a couple minutes, is I have a Discord. It's totally free to join. And that way I could have more conversations like these. And this is what I'm talking about, personal branding and building community, is having something like that. And it's called Creative Nephews. So I'm just going to, hang on a second. Let me just try to find the link for this. Invite people, copy. Hang on a second. I don't know if this chat's going to close, but if any of you want this Discord link, I'm going to put it into here. But yeah, that's going to be the free Discord link. You could copy it, put on your notepad, paste it, do whatever, join into that Discord. That's going to be the channel's Discord. So when things are going on or when I need to bounce ideas off of Chris, honestly, that's going to be that. So with that all said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for chilling out for 3 hours.